Welcome to the Casual Coders Podcast. I'm Chandler. This is Ian. This is Kyle. That is Alex.
Hi.
He's drunk, and we're going to get started here. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, the main reason why I wanted to start talking first is because I want to talk about the Cleveland Auto Show.
Ooh.
And this is going to be really weird because I'm about the only one here that actually cares about cars.
I know nothing.
Hey, I like nice cars.
I've only been one time.
You've only been one time. So first of
I've
all,
been once too, actually.
for those of you who are watching this, you are seeing this probably roughly 2 weeks after the Cleveland Auto Show ended.
Ah, yes.
That sounds about right.
It's been a couple of weeks, but I'm going to go.
What'd you think, first off?
Well, so I'm slightly disappointed from the last time I went because of COVID. There was significantly less there overall.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For example, Porsche didn't show up. Basically, all the exotic brands skipped out this year.
Was there electric cars? Because when I went, there was 0 electric cars, and I was disappointed.
Now, that was the whole reason I went, and there was a few, but you weren't allowed to get near them.
Yeah, we have them. They're just over
depressing.
there.
For example, they had the prototype for the new electric Silverado.
You may be seeing it on your screen now.
I already have this link, so when
something?
Ian edits it, he can
If you're
add all of
watching
the
the
Oh, you're
images.
going to make me edit it.
It's like a blue
Force the
truck
drunk
or
guy to
something.
edit, huh?
You can edit it later.
Yeah, you're going
Not
to
quite
edit
a truck.
sober. So then we've got the blue Chevy Silverado electric to compete with Ford's offering, which is called the F-150 Lightning, which is their electric truck, which is this, and it has a frunk.
It has a front.
Don't all electric vehicles have a front?
Yeah, so does the Chevy has a frunk too. But
Okay, so
but
it's just
but
the
here's
same
the
as
thing.
all the others.
Here's the thing: having a truck with a trunk that's lockable is the appeal. One of the appeals.
Right.
Because
That's
like
true.
normally in a
Alright, fair
truck you don't
enough.
have that.
What if they just made
Fair
the bed
enough.
extra long?
Ooh, Bugatti.
You know?
Extended.
Yeah, there was a few exotics there. There was a Bugatti Chiron, which is the world's fastest car. That was there, and it
I
was
like that
beautiful Bugatti blue.
That's really cool. And also segmented off, as would it be expected.
Yeah, no, but there was fingerprints on it, so some kid ran in there and slapped it and then ran out.
I hate it.
Yeah, I think that's normal.
But anyway, another electric vehicle I saw was the Ford Mustang Mach-E, and I was allowed to sit in it. And look at this. They're just copying Tesla with their displays.
That's
but at
hilarious.
least the speedometer is on the dashboard and not on the screen in the middle of the car.
Wait, is the Tesla speedometer in the middle of the car?
I'm
Yeah,
pretty
it is.
sure it is.
It is.
It is?
Wait, it is?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing here. There's nothing in front of you. It's
Yeah.
all. There's only a screen.
I would actually...
It depends on the model of the S.
What the
or
hell?
like
Depending
the Model
on-
3's that way.
So depending on how much money I have when I go to buy an electric car, I may consider getting the Mustang Mach-E instead of the F-150 Lightning.
Sounds not affordable.
I would be okay with the middle console only if they did a heads-up display as well.
They
But
don't, though.
Why?
Why not?
Yeah, why don't more cars do heads-up displays?
I don't know. That was actually an optional feature on a couple of the vehicles we looked at because part of the reason we actually wanted to go to the Cleveland Auto Show was because a few members of my family are looking for new vehicles. But we'll discuss that in a couple of minutes. First, I want to talk about another electric car I saw, which is
I saw a picture of Chandler looking super happy. I just scrolled by real fast.
Let's see it. Let's see it.
But this is the new other electric car. This is an Audi e-tron, I believe is what it's called.
I don't like the name.
But so this is built on the same platform as the Porsche Taycan, which is another fast electric car that Linus Tech Tips did a review on. So I don't know how many of you know this, but like Volkswagen owns like 50% of all the car manufacturing in Europe.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So Volkswagen owns Audi and Porsche. So when Porsche developed, I think it was Porsche who developed the platform, Audi's and all the other Volkswagen companies are like, can we borrow that?
Yeah.
So now you can buy a car on the Porsche Taycan platform for like on different brands. I believe the Audi is cheaper, but also slightly slower than the Porsche. But like they're effectively the same car with an Audi badge and different paneling. Sadly, I wasn't allowed to sit in it because it was a prototype.
Yeah.
So
Does like media come to this event? Like
Yes,
these events?
yes,
I
and-
would assume so.
they
It's pretty
do.
big.
So yeah, the picture of me looking
Are
very
you wearing?
happy.
Oh no, I was wondering if you were wearing a VR device
No.
in one of the cars, but it was just your hat.
So
that was
no,
over
this
your
is
head.
me sitting in a $65,000 BMW.
Only 65,000?
Only 65. Now there's also a picture of me, and I don't know if I got it off of Haley's phone. I might not have. I don't. But there's a picture of me sitting in a car that costs more than our house.
Yeah.
BMW had one of their racing models on display, and you were allowed to sit in it. It was $160,000.
All right.
It had this beautiful
Still
matte.
not as much as a 1911, though.
You can get cheaper 911s than that.
911. Oh, fuck. 911 is
911,
a,
Porsche.
almost said 1911.
1911.
No, 911's like 195K?
No, they're not. They're cheaper than that. You can get them for 85, yeah.
85? I guess
Porsche. I'm going to look this up. Porsche 911.
All right, fair enough.
To the interwebs.
Interwebs. I'm gonna go look at the Porsche 911 and see how much they start out as. They start out at 101,000. So yeah, you can get a Porsche cheaper than the.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, there's also a bunch of, like I said, they had like an exotics section where all they did was exotic cars. I got to sit in a few cars that I would actually consider buying that aren't electric vehicles, most of which are luxury cars. I have the car taste of an old man, by the way. So
Get
one
that
of the
Buick
cars.
Enclave.
Well, no, I was a Buick CT5, or not Buick. It was a Cadillac CT5. It was one of the other ones I really liked. It was a very roomy, very nice, technology-filled sedan that Cadillac makes.
For anyone out there who doesn't know their car makes and models, I'm totally with you right now. I have no idea what's going on.
So this is the CT5. This is just a sedan. Now the big thing is GM doesn't want to make cars anymore because they don't sell enough of them, except for their luxury brand Cadillac that does still make cars because they're trying to appeal to older folk who don't have kids. So they still sell sedans. And personally, I would rather own a sedan than an SUV. I don't actually care for SUVs, which is ironic because I drive one.
Yeah.
One interesting feature I didn't know before is one of the main selling features of cars is actually their safety rating and not like what features they have.
That is true, yeah.
Fair.
Very
selling
true.
point.
And generally, sedans have slightly better safety ratings than SUVs do, but SUVs have gotten technologically advanced enough that they can match a sedan. So, for example, and Haley is looking at buying a new car this year. Oh, wait. First, let me talk about some more technology before I go on that tangent. The new Hummer is a thing.
Whoa.
And
Is this electric?
It is all electric.
It
has-
looks electric.
It has
What?
one motor on each wheel.
I can't
my.
believe that.
It has over 1,000 horsepower.
They're like well known
Okay.
for not being electric. What the heck?
Yeah, they're well known for being gas guzzlers. And
Yeah,
that's why they went
props
out of
to
business
them.
during the
What are
2008
they
recession.
guzzling now?
They're guzzling your power bill. So they're also not under the Hummer brand. Hummer is no longer a brand. Hummer is a model.
Smart of them to abandon the brand name.
Yeah, so now it's the GMC Hummer, and they make
Interesting.
they make the GMC Hummer truck, which is what the only prototype they had at this auto show.
The bed looks super short.
It is super short because this
Does it have a
exact
frunk?
same platform. It has a frunk. This exact same platform is being used on the Hummer 3-row SUV. So they're using the same wheelbase distance, and they're just adding an extra row of seats and a cover on the back, and that's how they're doing the SUV.
So driver and then the back seat and then like a third back
There'll be
seat?
a third row. That is a very common on SUVs.
Will there be 3 doors?
No.
Okay.
You have to climb. You have to climb in behind. The seat,
gonna-
let the seats go
Because
forward.
I've never seen a car with 3 doors, but that'd be awesome.
Yeah, the trunk looks so short
Fun
though.
fact:
is
the
my
Hyundai
concern.
Veloster has 3 doors.
Oh, the Veloster.
Yeah, the
I saw
Hyundai
that.
Veloster has 3 doors.
Was
It
that
only-
on your?
I have
your Snap
never heard
story?
of that.
The Veloster.
No, it wasn't.
I must have seen somebody else. Somebody else went to the auto show and I saw like just a glimpse of it.
Yeah,
I
so the
saw
Hyundai Veloster has 3 doors. On the driver's side, it has the main door and a suicide door, and on the other side, it has a single door that's long,
Oh.
which is very strange.
Are you pro or not pro suicide door?
I don't care.
I also don't
Define
care.
suicide door.
Backwards doors.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why they're called suicide doors, honestly.
Because if you're driving really fast and you open them,
Oh, yeah, okay. They'll like rip off and fly. Yeah. All right.
So going back to like cars that I would actually buy, I checked out a Honda Civic or Honda Accord because I checked out the Civic too.
Hey,
honestly,
that's the car I drive. Just 2 decades. 2 decades older.
this is an Accord. The Civics
Yeah.
and the Accords look identical. They're just
They
different
really
sizes.
do.
I think that is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
One just is electric and the other isn't, or well, hybrid.
You can get the Accord in hybrid. You can't get the Civic in hybrid.
this is not electric, correct?
Well,
This is non-electric, but they offer a hybrid model.
Isn't the Accord always electric?
Yeah, it's weird because
Or
it
am
has a
I wrong?
grill, you
You're
know, and
wrong.
most electric
It's
vehicles don't
hybrid
have a motor
or
in that
just a
area.
show. ICE engine.
You're gonna
Okay.
you're gonna
Well,
wonder
it's
how many
always
of
an
those vestigial
ICE, but
features
okay.
like remain.
Yeah,
even
isn't that
after
weird?
The electric kind of
Yeah.
takes over.
So I sat in both the Accord and the Civic, and honestly, I was actually considering going out and looking at a Civic once I get my job is a little more stable. Now that I've actually sat in a Civic, I actually don't think I want one.
Oh, that's
Because
interesting.
I've sat in Ian's Corolla, and your Corolla feels roomier in the front than the Civic does.
I think that's technically not true.
It's
actually.
not, but I am a large human being, and this I don't know if it was just the configuration of the seating or what, but the Civic I sat in felt very small, even though the Civic is overall bigger than your car.
Interesting.
It was very strange. Now, I also sat in Ford's new mini truck, the Ford Maverick. This is a tiny little truck. It is smaller than my SUV, but it has a bed, it has a pickup truck bed.
I remember when you were looking at one of these.
I was, and I still am considering it because I sat in one.
Fair enough.
And the opposite was true. I expected to be cramped in this vehicle. I expected it to be a tiny economy vehicle. I fit perfectly fine. I had plenty of leg room. It was perfectly comfortable. It felt, and I will say, it felt just like my Escape.
Interesting.
So,
Feels about right.
yeah. Now, that being said, when I look at a vehicle, I think as of today and as of the current economic situation of the United States, I look at the mileage
Yep. There
of
you
the
go.
vehicle. Because gas in the city, in certain cities in the United States, at $5 a gallon today.
I think I saw a
Today?
7
Oh,
somewhere.
God.
No.
Is that in Ohio or
No, in
just
Ohio,
yeah.
Ohio's hovering around 4.
Yeah, it's getting back into those days.
Which, by the way, accounting for inflation, $4 a gallon gas in 2008 would be $5.50 a gallon gas today.
Wow.
Hooray.
So $4 a gallon sucks, but it's actually technically not as bad as 2008.
I'm
When
glad
did
I'm
we
working
hit
from
$4
home.
a gallon last? I
In-
thought it
in-
was
during the
2018,
recession.
Yep, 2008.
2008.
Really?
During the
Okay.
recession, yeah.
Wow.
So also, of course, because now I'm not big into classic cars. I think classic cars are cool, and I respect people who restore them and keep them up to date.
Sure.
But because I grew up playing Need for Speed and Gran Turismo,
Yeah.
I like exotics.
Okay.
All right, fair enough.
So they had an entire section. I showed you guys the Bugatti. They also had the Ferrari LaFerrari.
Whoa, you can
Beautiful
roll
car,
your.
I gotta say.
The Ferrari LaFerrari is the fastest Ferrari they ever make. It is $1 million MSRP.
$1 million.
$1 million MSRP.
I wish I had that.
And it's a hybrid.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Still not all electric, huh?
No, but Ferrari uses the hybrid engine to give it more torque when it's accelerating.
That makes sense. That's kind of what I guess I would have
Yeah.
expected.
So the idea is that the hybrid engine, the electric engine takes over when the car is shifting,
Right.
when the car is accelerating and the engine isn't spun up enough, and like a few other situations. And then when it brakes, it regen brakes first to try to recapture the energy. Because if you're going 200 miles an hour, there's quite a lot of energy you can capture with that engine.
All right, where are you legally going 200 miles an hour?
200 miles an hour.
Correct. But if you're buying this car, I really hope you're taking it to
You're
the
doing
track.
it just to show off.
No, I hope you're taking it to the track. I'm passionate about driving.
Or just some random highway in Florida.
Now,
I don't know.
my girlfriend is not known for liking foreign vehicles. She's also not known for liking exotics. She thinks they're stupid and ridiculous, which is fair.
That's part of the point, though.
But that's
she's
the
right.
point.
All right.
But she said, if you're ever a billionaire, please buy this one. It's pretty. Which is
Really?
a
That's interesting.
Lamborghini. I believe it was a Lamborghini Huracan STO, which is like, or whatever this lettering is on the front.
Ah, her second favorite Huracan.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a very fast Lamborghini. She says it's
Yeah.
pretty and it's she liked the matte red paint that was on it.
All right.
There was also the Swedish car manufacturer that I can never pronounce the name of. It starts with a K. Königskug or something like that.
I think
don't
that's
know.
it.
I'm an American and I can never pronounce it. Another fast. Basically, this is like the hypercar section. They had a bunch of what they call hypercars. It's faster than supercars. They also had a supercar. They had like a Lamborghini Aventador. They had a McLaren, which isn't as fast. I don't remember the five.
Ah, the McLaren.
Yeah. And then
Another
this
car
is
I know about from Rocket League.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
dude,
say,
I
actually.
bought the McLaren pack from Rocket League when it came out. And then there's also the Nissan 400Z, which is not a supercar, but is a car that would be fun to drive and is affordable because they're saying that you're going to get 400 horsepower for $40,000.
Oh, that's really not bad.
No, it's not. And if you're young and you like power for cheap, like I do, this
But
might,
what about torque for cheap?
well, that's the thing is that I would love to drive a car like this, but the mileage is shit, and that's like the main.
What is the
selling
MPG
point.
of that?
I want to look it up because I don't think it's good. MPG Nissan 400Z, and by the way, it is Nissan, not Nissan, but I saw it Nissan because when I say Nissan, people look at me funny. So,
Okay, hold on. It's a Japanese brand?
Yes,
It's
Nissan.
Nissan.
Is it Nissan?
It's Nissan.
Are
That
you
does
sure?
sound
It's
correct,
Nissan.
actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nissan, or
Nissan.
Nissan?
All the British people
There's not a
pronounce it
double
Nissan.
S in
So yeah,
Japan.
it's
Well, that's
40,000.
'cause they're British.
It's $40,000, 400 horsepower, twin turbo V6 engine, so it's quick, and it gets 27 mpg.
I mean, that's not horrible.
It's not horrible, but that's what my SUV
It's not
gets.
great, but it's not horrible.
No. So I'm gonna wrap up my car show because really all we did was look at cars that people want to buy. Like Haley's parents were looking at BMWs, which they can't. They said they're not gonna buy because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
Haley really liked this blue BMW SUV here. I mean, it was a cool SUV. Okay. I looked at some Audis that were also cool, but Haley only got one picture of me awkwardly stepping out of it.
Got an A8 or an A7 anywhere in there?
This is an A8 that I was in.
Fair enough.
So, and it was about 75 grand. but it was also of course, when you go to the auto show, they never show you the budget model. They always show you the top
of the
end
end,
model.
yeah.
Now, one of the things that I did like about the Cleveland Auto Show specifically is they had price tags on all the vehicles.
Yes.
And if you
I do
really
remember that,
you know
yeah.
what? If you really like the car,
You
you
can
can
just buy it
No,
there,
you can
yeah.
buy it there.
Yeah.
You can walk up to the representatives and be like, "I will buy this car today," and they will sell it to you. And they said as soon as the auto show's over, you can come pick it up.
Really? That's
Yes.
crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, because there's actually
Could you drive it off the show floor? Or are they
no,
gonna-
they would have it ready for you at the nearest dealership.
They'll take it outside.
enough.
for you.
So whenever, because we were walking around and the Civic that I sat in that I really liked had already been sold. It was this bright blue Civic that was a Civic Sport or whatever. But the problem is I really liked it. But I'm going to let you guys a little
That's
secret.
funny. I actually debated a Civic Sport when I was buying the Corolla.
I can't drive stick.
Ah.
And it was a
I
stick.
really need to learn
with that
stick a little
attitude.
bit better, Craig.
So finally,
Wait, so can no one here drive stick?
I can't drive stick now.
I can drive stick, but
haven't.
I'll fuck your clutch.
Wait, can you?
I think that I've been around it enough to figure it out because my old tractor had a clutch, but I personally don't have any experience in a manual transmission vehicle.
so the
Well,
answer is
if we-
no. And
I'm
If
a
we get in a
fool.
zombie apocalypse
Can I
situation,
jump
I
into
am
a story
driving
here?
then.
Let's
oh
hear
wait,
it.
you can drive stick.
Absolutely.
Okay. 'Cause
Ian's gonna lay it on us.
Yeah. So my friend Craig and I, my old boss,
All right.
we tried filming a YouTube video of me attempting to learn how to drive a stick shift car.
Did Craig have a stick shift car?
Yes, he does.
He
He's
does,
a
he does.
Ford Mustang.
Hey, that was my car. as
While
well.
he flew FPV from the front seat, and his kids were shooting at the drone with a Nerf gun.
Bro, what?
And I think his daughter was flying a kite as well.
So many layers.
It was a shit show, but it was great.
How much clutch did you burn?
Well,
Yeah.
I forgot that the handbrake was on.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
solid, solid.
So
Rookie mistake.
There was a bit of a burning smell.
Oops.
Oops.
Whoops.
It's
That,
good
was,
for you.
that wasn't the clutch, at least. That was his brakes.
It builds
so,
character.
Yeah, I got it okay the first time when the brake was down, but then you pull the brake up and you try to go and it don't work too well.
Ah, chicky.
It's something I got to learn though. I really want to learn how to drive a manual vehicle at some point.
It's kind of neat. I don't know how much more I'll use it aside from whenever I borrow my dad's car.
It's
Right.
useful if you
Oh,
buy an
your-
exotic
your
car
dad's
or a
Corvette
nice
stick?
car that's in a manual.
But see, it's one of those things that it's like a
But,
dying
yeah.
breed. Like what the
Yeah,
skill
well,
set.
even
I
in
suppose it does cost more to buy a manual vehicle at this point. Yeah.
well, there's a few
Yeah.
exceptions. I believe if like you can get a Nissan Sentra cheaper if you, or it's either Sentra or the Versa. I think it was the Versa. Whatever the cheaper one is, you can get with a manual for $2,000 cheaper than you can with a.
That's funny. I
with an
think the
automatic.
Toyota Corolla was like $2,000 more if you want a manual.
Because they want you to buy the sport model. And then also, even newer supercars don't have stick shift anymore. They have double clutch.
I know they've got paddle shifters.
That's what they have.
Yeah.
Instead,
How does a
so how a
paddle
paddle
shifter
shifter work? That is called a double clutch transmission, and the idea is that there's a solenoid in the transmission that shifts
Okay.
it faster than you ever could if it was a stick.
Fair enough.
So all you have to do, there's no clutch. You just hold on to the gas
Yeah.
and you just click, 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 click.
So I
So
really
a
miss
series
that.
of buttons that just automatically.
Yeah.
All
My
right,
old car
fair
used to
enough.
have the like sport mode where you could manually shift up and down, but I hated that it would automatically downshift for you when you brake, when you hit the brakes at the
Kia
at the
Soul's
stoplight.
got that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so it was a Kia
I think they
Optima.
call it a transaxle or whatever.
I don't know. They just
Yeah,
called
I
it
don't know.
sport mode, but
I call that a
love being able to
suggestion because the
control it.
computer can do it at once.
But at the same time, then it was
wrong
like
there.
it's barely even. Like
Well, I don't know if computer can fully do what it wants. If you like just throw on the gas, it'll throw on the gas. And
well,
first
you
gear.
you'd burn out your first gear. Like it didn't shift until you went up.
Until
but
you went
it
up,
would
but
shift
it'll
down
automatically
automatically.
down.
I remember my
That's
super
dad
annoying.
referred to that as a slapstick, but I don't know if that's actually a proper term.
Well, I
What's
enjoyed
good that
anyway.
it shifted down though, wouldn't it be?
What do you mean?
It's good that when it shifts
Oh, yeah.
down, like
So-
if you're stationary and you try to go into
Convenient.
fourth
Well,
gear,
yeah,
it's not
so
gonna work.
I understand why it did it, but I guess the most annoying thing for me was that then I would shift down and then it would automatically shift down. So it would like skip and then it'd be super jittery every time I would go to stop. So I had to
I
get
see.
out of that habit. But
I
it was
see.
still fun to play with because it was like interesting to
That makes more
at
sense.
least have some manual control over your gears. But yeah, I don't know. It was more of a gimmick than anything.
Oh, so also both Jeep and Ford had these setups where you could get into one of their vehicles and they had an obstacle course. they would
Oh,
take
and you go
through.
on the track or whatever.
Yeah, so
Yeah, those are cool.
We did both Jeep and Fords. Ford was doing the new Bronco, of course. Jeep does theirs all the time.
They're kind of steep sometimes, you know.
They are, dude. It looked when I was in that Jeep, man. It looked straight up. You were looking straight up.
It's like
at
a
it.
roller coaster.
Yeah, it was really cool. I still would never buy a Jeep or a Bronco, but it was cool. So finally, Haley has been wanting to buy a new car this year. She said she wanted to buy a used car or a new car, whatever she can get for a reasonable price. With the current situation, used car market, it is actually almost cheaper, not almost, but in some cases cheaper to buy a new car than it is to buy a used car. And or it's a better value because you could spend $38,000 and get a used car. You could spend $38,000 and get a car with 0 miles on it. So like, now that being said, there's dealer markups, there's a bunch of other stuff. But if you can get the car at MSRP, just like if you can get the graphics card at MSRP, you're going to get a better deal. So Haley wanted, and out of all the vehicles we looked at, all the vehicles, we haven't test driven any vehicles yet, but out of all of them, Haley liked the Chevy Equinox. It is a compact / midsize. It's not like a midsize, but it's bigger than my Escape. SUV. It gets better gas mileage than my SUV does. This thing was loaded. And honestly, I told her I would help her pay for it because I would want her to buy this exact.
You want it too.
I want this exact SUV that we tried out.
Does it have the umbrellas in the doors?
It doesn't have that. Only Rolls has those.
What?
Rolls-Royce has a patent on that. You're not allowed to do that on any other car.
Well, the Tesla Model X does it.
Does it? Do they?
I'm pretty sure.
Maybe the patent expired, but for a while, nobody else was allowed to do that.
Either the patent expired or they do it slightly
Found their
differently.
way around it.
Something like that. But yeah, so this car was loaded. It had the sat nav. It had Android Auto, which Android Auto is like standard at every car now,
At this
pretty
point,
much.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
But
like,
is it wireless Android Auto?
it was wireless Android Auto. It had an optional, but I don't think it was installed, wireless charging pad in the car.
That's cool.
I think 1 or 2 of the Honda cars I looked at when I was buying my car had that. I think it was the Civic.
It was really cool. This is a really cool concept. It had the wireless Android Auto. It
Yeah,
had
but wireless charging so inefficient.
heated and cooled front seats.
All right.
Heated and cooled rear seats, which her and I
Now that's nice.
That's
Now,
that's
her
getting
and
up
I
there.
said we wouldn't buy that. We would take that option off because
What,
an
your
option. Why
kids
do you
don't
think?
deserve heated seats?
No.
because when we own
You're
this
gonna be
car
in the back
thing,
and you're gonna be pleased about it.
it had like all of the fun options, and of course, like when you buy these cars, you get like a year of Sirius XM or whatever. But I wouldn't use
I
that.
remember
I
that. They
use-
called me Ion on the
used
Cool. It's like
Spotify.
Spotify, but with more ads.
No, there's no ads on
No, there's
Sirius.
no ads because you got to pay for
there
it.
Are. You got to pay for it and you still get ads. Have
Really?
you guys used Sirius in the last 10 years?
No.
I've never used
Yeah,
it.
it
no.
used to be
I never
like,
even heard
we
of
don't
what
use
this is.
ads because you pay for it. And then they were like, well, maybe a little ads. And now it's like basically as much as
90%
radio.
ads or like
no, now
less?
it's on par with radio. You get the
Oh.
same
Well,
amount
this
of ads.
this also had the
Okay,
HD
well, that's
radio in
pointless
it.
then.
So if we want to just get free radio with ads, we can just use the FM HD radio.
yeah.
This also had all-wheel drive, which is something that my car doesn't have to have, but
Nice to
Haley
have.
said she wants to car. It's a nice to have, not a need. It had a sunroof, again, something that is cool, but I'd never use it.
Yeah, if you're somewhere with like winter and or snow, I think
Yeah.
4-wheel drive is good.
It is good, but my car doesn't have it. And I'm
When you're off-roading, brother.
off-road, brother.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem. That's four-wheel drive ups the cost of your car.
Right.
Like just inherent insurance.
Well, it's a more complex mechanical design. So.
Yeah. But yeah, the Cleveland Auto Show was cool to go to, especially since Haley and I were kind of shopping around because her and I both kind of want to buy new cars soon, TM. Which by the way, we went over to the trucks and I wasn't interested in the trucks and she immediately climbed into this fucking $70,000 Ram.
Woo!
My girlfriend likes trucks more than I do.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
You're darn tootin'.
Darn tootin'. But yeah, we were just looking at these cars. They're cool. They're nice. Of course, I loved the freaking C8 Corvette. It cost $75,000 plus $100,000 dealer markup because
Nice.
fuck you.
Yeah.
I like how electric the Hummer looks.
I do like the look of the Hummer. The Hummer is really cool. I still think out of all of the electric vehicles there, which I guess was the main reason I wanted to talk about it on this podcast, was the electric vehicles. I ended up going to tangent on other car stuff.
Yeah, well.
But about all the electric vehicles, I think the F-150 looks the most not ridiculous.
That's good.
And the reason why is because it just kind of looks like an F-150 with an extra light bar attached to it.
you go.
And that's what they were going for. And from a looks perspective, that's kind of what I would want.
Got to use up all that electricity.
Okay, the Mustang Mach-E, it looks more like a Mustang that does like a fancy schmancy electric car. I'm going to find it. I'll show you what it looks like on the front end. Yeah, right here. It just looks like a Mustang, but it's a hatchback. And okay, I know for a fact if there is anyone watching this in the comments, y'all are gonna fight about how this isn't the Mustang. Okay,
Okay.
I get it,
It's a Mustang logo.
but
No, it's not a Mustang.
I get it. But from a tech guy perspective, I would still want this car because of the technology that's inside of it and because it is all electric. That's something that I honestly have debated, instead of buying a new car this year, saving that money for something else and waiting until I can afford a fully electric vehicle. And I think that would be the more practical option, because
I don't know. The technology and some of that stuff terrifies me.
it does, but at the same time, I like the idea of having little to no maintenance on my vehicle. I like the idea of only having to replace tires and brakes. I like the idea of not having to go to the gas station. I can just plug the car in when I get home, like my phone. And there's all these other, and
Isn't
most
it like 24 hours for a full charge though. It's
no,
a long time.
these are not. And also Ford recently.
What is the mileage though? That's sort of something you got to debate,
Ford
right? Because you can get a $5,000 electric car, but your mileage is like 25 miles per charge, and it's useless.
So the EPA came out with the standard, what they call MPGE, which stands for MPG equivalent, which is
Yup,
their
I recall that.
their measurement for the equivalent amount of MPG this car would get if it was an internal combustion
I don't
engine.
care about that though. It's useless. Miles per charge is what actually matters.
Yeah, that's
So
like
the
charge capacity,
the Mustang
right?
Mach-E gets like around 90 to 101. At worst, it gets 82, but that's
But
if
can you give me
82 miles per charge?
miles
I
per
don't care
charge.
about
No.
miles per
That's
gallon. I care about miles
MPGE.
per
That's
charge.
how
Okay,
much.
so yeah, MPGE, I think we agree, is a pretty useless metric.
It is useless.
Well,
Well,
actually,
it's
what
not
we wanna
useless
know is
because
things-
it shows you how much you would pay probably based on how much.
Perhaps,
there you go.
but I think when you buy an electric
Maybe, but I
vehicle,
don't
you
know.
already are kind of accepting that you're avoiding the whole
So the
gasoline in general, like that whole schema, right? Like it's a
14 miles
completely
per
different
charge, is
experience,
that
right?
right?
yeah, but the
so
question was like, how much would you end
that's
up
the
paying
rear-wheel drive
for?
model.
Is it as
I guess
good as
that's, but I mean, I guess when
don't
we're
know.
thinking
On
like in
par
terms
with
of
an
taking a
extended
road
range.
But that's
trip,
like
right?
absolutely like maximum possible. best
Realistically,
mile
you're
per
going to get
charge.
about 380.
Okay, so that's what he's saying.
314.
314 is what the
not
average.
Bad.
That's what the
Assuming
EPA
that price
says.
is correct at 40.
Okay.
500.
Okay, so first of all,
45,000,
of
sorry.
course, because this is
What is it?
business.
Oh, 0 to 60.
Yeah, it's 0 to 60.
All right.
0 to 60.
Another
So
useless
realistically-
metric, but whatever.
$44,000, 314
If it
miles.
makes you feel better to
The
include
Mustang
it.
Mach-E base model only gets 230 miles on a charge for the
Yeah,
$43,000.
Isn't that pretty close to Tesla though?
But
is-
here's,
that is
I mean, the way
identical
I
to
see that, it
Tesla's.
was
All
like,
right, fair enough.
when you think about anything you have to do in one
it's a
day,
Ford, how rusty
other
is
than
it
a
gonna
road
be?
trip, right? I gotta, run my errands. I gotta go to work. Like 230 miles is more than enough.
Exactly. That's my logic. I don't.
Yeah.
You charge
I-
it every night, right?
Exactly. I don't see myself using, and like, hey, like my girlfriend loves to road trip.
Okay.
Haley likes to road trip, but I told her,
See,
okay,
that's your problem though.
then
Well-
we won't take my car. Is what I
Right.
tell her. That's my
enough.
solution.
Take a train, take a plane, take anything else.
Well, no, she
Or a
wants
gas
to
car.
Take her car.
or if you,
take a gas car. And she said she said in her opinion, she would rather me buy a hybrid vehicle than buy an all electric
I
vehicle.
mean, I see it. The hybrid gets like
Something to be said for
55
that.
miles
Because
to
she
the gallon,
said-
and you can fuel up at the pump.
exactly. That
Right.
was her
There's
logic.
the argument.
Her logic was, okay, you're going to save at the pump still.
Right.
And you're going to be able to live your techie joyfulness.
right.
Because she's such her dad's
Your
kid.
electric wet dream has been fulfilled.
Oh, your Discord's screwing up again?
Oh
Nice.
man.
I feel like that's got to be the Wi-Fi, but we'll move on.
But anyway, yeah. But I want an electric car. I would like to. Here's the thing, okay? Tesla's doing good things in the industry. Well, there's many bad things.
There
they're
are
doing.
some good things coming from Tesla. Yes.
Yes, there are some good things coming from Tesla, but I am not a Tesla fanboy. I originally wanted a Tesla when I first heard about electric cars, and Tesla was like the only player. I'm like, oh my God, I want a Tesla. Now that Ford, Chevy, and all the other major manufacturers are coming out with electric cars, I think I would stick with one of the big, either the
Right.
big three American or even like Honda or Hyundai or whatever. I would rather go and get a car from a manufacturer who has the resources to dedicate to the vehicle itself. Because frankly, Tesla, all they care about is their image. It seems what it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ford cares. Well, okay, Ford also cares about their shareholders. And so does Tesla, because Tesla is the most overvalued company in the world. Changed my mind.
I won't. I will not change your mind.
I won't
try.
right now. Out of the four of us, I am definitely the Tesla fanboy.
You are the Tesla fanboy of the group. However, if I go out and buy a Mustang Mach-E, it's still an all-electric vehicle. It still has a lot of technology behind it. It's going to do what I want it to do.
I would much rather have one of those, like either a hybrid vehicle or one of like like a Chevy. What was it? Bolt or Volt? What the hell is the one they're
Volt.
selling these days?
They're selling the Bolt, which is all-electric these days.
When I think of what I would want to be like a useful vehicle, and this is coming from the perspective of someone who has not bought a vehicle from this decade or the previous one. Like everything I'm driving is ancient.
You drive a 2000 something Accord?
I downgraded when somebody rammed into the back of my car and totaled my vehicle. my '09 Kia Optima, I downgraded to an '07 Honda Accord. So I have not driven a vehicle with any of the modern features that anyone's used to. I've never
Although
had
a lot of the
seat
modern
heaters.
features can be swapped out with your radio.
I know, but like you can't put a seat heater in one of those. You know what I'm saying? I'm just
Well, you
thinking like
can
the
if you
silly
tried.
stuff. Like I still got one of those. I couldn't believe how many vehicles still have the VFDs as their infotainment display system. Like I look at a VFD and I just think of how ancient
What's
it
VFD
is.
again?
A vacuum fluorescent display as opposed to the LCD. So
My car is an LED matrix.
well, anyway, I guess my point being that I'm used to driving old vehicles, and I'm thinking that if I were ever to finally get a new-ish vehicle, I would want to go for something hybrid or electric. But I mean, Tesla wouldn't be on my list, or even
So you would be like me. You would rather get like Ford or
I would
Chevy.
want to get the budget electric vehicle. I would want to get
So
something
the
affordable.
Nissan Leaf.
Yeah, sure. I would want to get something affordable. I would want to get something that fits in with my like schema for driving X miles per day. I don't ever drive more than 50 miles per day in general. Like maybe on occasion I will, but I would think something with 200-mile range per charge is 100% reasonable.
So,
and you know, being less than $20,000 would be like ideal. I mean, I can't afford the other stuff, you know?
So I'm going to wrap up this topic.
Sure.
However, I'm going to comment on your budget electric car.
Right.
I was actually looking forward to going to Nissan and looking at the Nissan Leaf
Okay.
that they didn't have at the auto show.
Ah.
And I was wondering why, and the reason why is because they haven't updated the car in 3 years. So they're like, you know what, we're not going to, there's not any new tech to show, so we're not going to show it.
Okay.
But a Nissan Leaf is a car I actually looked into and actually considered for my next vehicle because it gets 250 something miles, I think, for the range, which is more than enough for my daily commute of 0.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Okay. All right.
Isn't that technically wrong though? Because you're going to school.
I'm going to school now, but I won't be going to school after I get my degree. So after I get my
you
degree,
hope.
I hope. So what I'm thinking is that I'm going to get like a WeWork or get like a shared office space until I get my home office built up, and then I'm not going to bother. And then my daily commute will be to the grocery store or to the coffee shop or whatever.
I suppose it does definitely make a lot more sense for an electric car or something at that point.
Yeah,
But
and it also makes more sense for me to
it depends on
lease.
where you live, right?
Right, yeah.
I don't know. There's always the argument.
I
of,
live in the
like,
boonies.
I
And
mean,
that's
everything
Anyone
depends
can
on where
buy
you
an
live.
electric car. They're coming down. They're more affordable, but you're never gonna find a road trippable electric car for $5,000.
Well, I think
What's your
can buy
definition
a
of road
Toyota
trippable?
Corolla from 1995 for $5,000 that still works. I can fill it up at the pump and get 300 some miles to the tank. But for $5,000, I'm getting 40 miles to the tank for charge for an electric vehicle. It just doesn't make sense at the low end.
I will consider an electric vehicle road trippable when I can top the vehicle, when I can go from a 0% charge to 100% charge in under 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is that just the infrastructure isn't there.
Sort of getting there, but
That's
yeah,
what
the
you're
infrastructure
thinking
is
is more
not
the
there.
infrastructure.
It's
Right.
still a half hour for a full
I
charge,
think,
though, isn't it? With
no,
the Tesla?
for a Tesla, it's like 80 minutes.
80 minutes?
Yeah, it's a lot.
It depends
it's not
on
e- is
it depends on what model you have and
So
also
it's
what
not
pump
even
you're
a
at.
1C charge rate.
Yeah, so I was looking into this electric charge.
I
rates
thought it
and
was
stuff.
way faster. I thought it was like a half hour.
Like I said,
for
it depends
full
on the model.
charge
It
in
depends on the
optimal
model.
conditions.
Porsche has some that's the other reason why I was looking at the Porsche has an electric car that can go from a 0% charge to a fully charged in 5 minutes.
Well,
Okay,
yeah. What's
what?
the battery like capacity? 5 kilowatt hour? 10
Oh,
kilowatt
it's
hour?
more than that because the car went 400 miles on a charge.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty
Never
wild.
mind.
Now
That's
this-
a lot of energy.
this was a
That's
prototype.
That is a
huge-
lot. That's a
but
lot of
also-
pixies you're pushing around.
Also, that's a huge charge rate, and the problem there is
The battery,
significantly faster cell degradation.
Porsche
Yes.
straight up said
Yep.
we don't recommend doing this unless you're road tripping.
I mean, isn't
Or
that
it's
like,
emergency.
isn't that what they
Every-
say about fast charging?
I'd
your
even
phone?
say only
Yeah.
emergency, not even road trip, because that's such a huge wear on the cells.
But people say
It
that in
depends.
general, right?
Are you renting your Are you like
Are you leasing this car? Or are you buying it?
Whose problem is it?
I
Yours or
suppose that's
or the
also
company?
true.
or the
Yeah.
next owners?
and also the environment, I guess, if you care about that.
Rip the
Well,
environment.
Yeah.
Rip. All
I
right.
think every single way is still dirty.
But yeah,
right?
I am looking forward to the future of vehicles. I'm
Yes.
looking forward to owning an electric car in the future. I'm still like on the fence on if I want to buy a new car this year or if I want to just wait another year or
Yeah.
two and get an electric car. I really am.
If you did buy a car this year, what do you do with your current car?
I would probably keep it,
You
actually.
could probably sell it for a lot of money.
I could.
If it still runs,
at
apparently,
this
like,
point, oh
that's
boy.
what
It's
that's what they're
cosmetically
telling me.
fucked, though. My car looks like
but
ass.
see, that's the thing is like what apparently is happening now, and this is what I've understood just from forums and exchanges with people online, and in general, people talking about like the supply chain issues. Of course, we haven't escaped the supply chain issues. It will not go away.
It'll be a while.
What apparently is happening with a lot of people is they'll go out to the dealership and they'll say, "Hey, I want this brand new, 2022, whatever the hell it is," and they'll say, "Oh, cool, yeah, we don't have any of those. We actually don't have anything." But you'll be lucky if you can find that '07 Accord off the lot for like $9,000 with 150,000 miles on it. And then that's kind of like the baseline people are using. So now like used cars that you could have bought for $3,000 or $4,000 10 years ago will now be selling for like $9,000 or $10,000 just because there's such a limited supply with they can't make new cars because God forbid you have one chip in the stereo that you can't source anymore. So now you can't sell that whole like package, that whole option in your vehicle. So I mean, just how much the supply chain cripples everything else in the automotive market. It seems like that's how people are saying like getting any kind of vehicle right now is a real challenge.
So a lot of car manufacturers are allowing you to order the car directly off their website. It'll be shipped to a dealer, and you can go to the dealer and pick it up, and for a minimal dealer markup.
Well, what kind of like times
Oh
are
wait,
they
you
talking?
order it off their website and the dealer has their own markup that they
They
apply
can,
Nice.
but if then you can also just go to the dealer and you can call the dealer and say, "You mark this up. I'm not fucking buying
But
it."
what is a lead time like that for? I mean, are we talking months,
Oh
weeks, days?
my god!
Years?
Yeah, the usual 52 weeks for your
Well, I
electronic
mean,
project.
honestly, I wouldn't be
So
surprised.
I was looking at the Mach-E,
Okay.
Mustang Mach-E, 28 weeks,
Okay, so
not
what is
bad.
that, half a year?
half a year, 6
Okay.
months of lead
Years.
time.
Sure.
The Ford Maverick, which was the other vehicle I was looking into, they said they might not have any until early next year.
Oh boy.
Yeah, exactly.
The
right.
Ford F-150 Lightning, another vehicle that I'm very interested in, which as you can tell, I am a Ford and or Honda person.
Okay.
But the Ford F-150 Lightning, they're saying 2024?
Oh my god.
It's ridiculous.
So it sounds like all
So
those
over a
cars
year.
at that car show got sold, huh?
yeah, right.
Yeah,
I think
right.
they got
Well, that's
what
the
they
thing.
wanted.
At the car show, you paid sticker price.
Well, yeah.
Well, for
You're
the
paying
one
sticker
model.
price if you're buying online anyway, right?
For the
there
floor
isn't
model.
really room to make a deal.
Yeah, and then like so for example, if I told Haley like if we had the down payment, I would have bought that SUV that day. Like if we had the down payment and we had the means to pay it no problem, I would have bought that SUV off the auto show floor. That SUV was what she wanted. I thought it was a very nice vehicle. We agreed that if we're both paying for it, we're going to share the vehicle because realistically, I'm going to be working from home anyway, so why do I need a nice car?
You probably
initially?
don't.
I really don't.
There you go.
You get away with the car.
If
that
I
you
have the
currently
money, I would like to have a nice car. But if I
Yeah.
don't have the money, I'm not going to fight it because frankly, I work from home most of the time.
Yeah.
Getting back to last episode.
Yeah, that's where I am. Is I'm like I could buy like a Tesla, which is what I would personally buy.
It is sort of sad, right? Because I bought a brand new car with the
And then COVID
expectation of
happened.
going into work every day, and then COVID happened, and I
jeez.
worked from home basically the entire time.
So now what's funny is I'm kind of in that
So, I
point
don't
where
know. But
living
whatever,
out.
I got an open pilot car. It's cool.
Yeah, and it'll last a while. So
So living out in the boonies now, or at least moving out into the boonies, now I'm at that point where I'm like, well, it's nice having a like dirt cheap used car that's had, X previous owners and like barely functions, but it's got, 6-digit mileage. But now I'm at that point where like, well, if I want to just move like any equipment or furniture or anything, I would much rather have a truck, just like everyone else out in the
Yeah.
middle of Nowheresville in my county.
it's almost like there's a reason
So
they
it's
have
like
trucks.
they all have trucks because they need them, and I'm like, well, if I were to get a new car, I'd probably want something with some space. So like a truck would be useful, but they get dog shit mileage
But it's
typically.
the
So
boonies.
it's like,
You should be close with your neighbors. You just borrow your neighbor's truck.
well, yeah,
We have a friend.
they're
who
not
owns-
always so friendly. I don't.
We
know.
have a friend who
Yeah,
owns a
that's
pickup
fair,
truck who'd
that's
be willing to
fair.
let you borrow it at least.
Well, that's I guess kind of where I'm at now. It's like, well, if I were to get a newer vehicle, maybe a truck would be worth considering, but these trucks don't have great mileage, so maybe an electric truck would have good mileage. I don't know. Something to think about.
The problem is the Ford F-150 Lightning. I think it is a badass vehicle, and I would love to own one. It's very expensive.
Yeah, I know.
How bad?
That's what.
The base model starts at about 40.
40K?
40.
I mean, that's
10
only
times
two
more than the
Toyota
value of my
Corollas.
car.
See, that doesn't sound bad, right? Well,
Yeah,
then
that
you
doesn't
real-
sound bad for the
but
base
then you
model.
that
but
is
I don't know what that is in
So the-
terms of feature set and all that. So
basically the feature set is the bare minimum for 2022. Now, if you want any more than that, you're looking at, they go from $40,000 for the base model to the XLT costs 60. The next one up, they add
The next one up is another Toyota Corolla. Oh my gosh.
Is another Toyota Corolla in price. And then the model
that's like a 2021, 2022.
and then the model
Toyota
that I would
Corolla.
buy is getting close to $75K.
Woo! Isn't that basically a Tesla at that point?
Basically a
That's
house.
a Tesla. That's a Tesla Model S, is what that is.
Model
However,
S, wow.
however, you get a bed, you get roughly the same range. You get the fact that it's not coming from a company that spies on you all the time.
Is that even true though? I'm not sure.
I
believe
actually
that.
don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
But I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of Tesla. I think that, again, they're doing great things, but I would never personally own one because they also have
They
a lot
do cool stuff. It's awesome.
They have
to
quality
purchase
control
a car,
issues.
They do. But to purchase a car, they'll go that fast, that quickly is really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They are
It's sort of
fun.
boring though. I sort of agree with that sentence, but it's boring.
All right. So shifting topics off of vehicles.
Okay.
Shifting topics
All right.
off of other things you own, though. I guess there's your relation. Alex, you wanted to talk about portable computers, laptops, tablets, netbooks,
did.
etc. So I want to know what you want to talk about related to that.
So what I'm curious about, and this is something that I've started to realize as I started joining in the working world with everybody else, there's kind of a division in the workforce these days with people who either 100% they take all their notes, they do all their meetings, they do all their planning, everything on paper. And then there's the other group of people who have been like, all right, I'm going to use my iPad, I'm going to use my phone, I'm going to use my tablet for everything. And then they look at people like me who still use paper, if I've revealed my own, kind of idea behind this. And they look at people like me, like cavemen banging rocks together, still using paper to do all their planning and everything. So what I'm curious about, and this is something I've been talking about for years, I've always wanted to have something I could, like one electronic device that I could do my planning, I could do my scheduling, I could do like my calendars, my meetings, my appointments, my everything like that, all in one central location and access it from other places. But every single year,
That sounds like an iPad to me.
well, yeah, but I also want something that I could type on, that I could use my, access my email more friendly. I'm not a big Apple guy just because I look at the
Yeah.
price tag and I'm like, ugh. But I like using my phone for things
It
like this.
still
but
sounds like an iPad.
I'm not
to
gonna
me,
lie, it
though.
sounds like an iPad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you
so-
could get a Surface tablet.
See, ultimately, and the way I look at it is like, if I were to get another device, I would want something that I have full access over. And that's the
Yeah,
one I'm
that's-
thinking. I want access to a file system, which Apple doesn't give you.
The new iPads do,
tablet
actually.
or whatever, the Pine Phone tablet thing?
Oh, no.
Oh,
We're
God.
not giving him
I'm not
the weird
okay.
Linux
So
tablet.
I gotta say, I don't have a lot of experience in this department, so I don't really know what options are available. I haven't done my research, but what I almost think I would prefer, and again, my laptop, the laptop I currently own, is 12 years old and cannot run Windows anymore. It's so old that I had to put Linux on it because it could not install
Well,
Windows.
it'll run Windows 7.
It did
but-
not run. I tried to install it and it was like, it took 5+ minutes to boot and just shit the bed. So, I mean, we're at that point where just like this hardware is so antiquated that it's useless, which is unfortunate. But I mean, so I have a Linux installation on there that's lightweight enough to boot in a couple minutes and still run. But I mean, it's pitiful to use when I compare it to anything else. I have an SSD in my current gaming PC, if you will, and I have an SSD in my work laptop. So when I go back to something that's a hard drive based
Oh,
laptop,
it's painfully slow.
it's painfully slow. And on top of that, it's ancient. I mean, it has, I think, like 3 gigabytes of RAM. So it's like, yeah, if I want the nostalgia of old hardware, sure, I can use my laptop. But I don't want that. I want something fast and responsive that I can do my planning, my daily, scheduling, all that kind of stuff from. But
As of iPad OS 13, they've had a file system now.
that's
That was
really
one
interesting because I always
requested
remember
feature.
they were so against that.
Yep,
And I
they
had
were.
to get third-party apps. I remember when I jailbroke
what was
my
it?
iPad.
Was it iFile? That
iFile
the
was
Cydia
jailbroken.
tweak?
You needed to get
Yeah.
Cydia for that, and I still have that on my iPod. I haven't upgraded the firmware on that in 7 years.
Not like you can anyway at this point.
Right? Yeah, I'm sure they don't support it anymore.
It depends on what iPod it is, but I think
It's
the like
5th generation touch.
I own a 2nd gen, and I think the maximum firmware you can put on it is like 4.1.2 or something. Like really ancient.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it's iOS 7 or 8. Like,
Okay, well then you're
it's
lucky in that
old.
regard.
Yeah. So anyway, but I guess that's where I'm at, where I prefer like the touch interface for things, but I also like the mouse and keyboard interface. I want a laptop basically that I can also use as a tablet. And I guess that's kind of where I'm coming from because like I said, I love touchscreens. I think touchscreens are great, but I also like the ability to just plug in a keyboard or have a keyboard present and be able to do things like type a lot or interface like a computer, have a file system, be able to access my web server, use whatever protocols to do my stuff. Like I'm wondering what you guys use. I mean, clearly you guys all have your own laptops in front of you. This is my work laptop. I don't have a personal device like this. So I'm wondering what you guys use.
So if I were now, I'm not a big touchscreen person. I'm not a big note taker like you do. If I do take notes, I prefer to type them. So I actually went out of my way to not buy the touchscreen model of my XPS 13. However, I considered for a while buying the XPS 13 2-in-1, where this would fold behind itself and turn itself into a 13-inch tablet.
Right.
And it had Windows Ink support, which means you could get like a really nice pen, so you could write stuff on it with really good palm rejection and all this other stuff. And you could basically have a modern netbook / notebook laptop that you could write on. You could do all this other fancy stuff on. Another thing I consider doing, and I might do it as a casual coders project or just as a personal project of mine, I would like to go and buy a used Microsoft Surface tablet and put Linux on it and see what the see what the Linux experience is like on like a used 2nd or 3rd gen, not bottom of the barrel, but also not top end Surface tablet.
Well, but is the hardware supported in Linux? That's like one thing that's okay.
So the Surface Go, which is the one that I was looking at because they're the cheap, you can get them for like $100 used.
Okay.
They're cheap. And
Doesn't the Surface Go not actually run Windows?
it does. The Surface Go actually
Does it run Windows 10 S or whatever?
no,
Yeah,
it runs
special
runs
version is, or
full
no?
fat Windows 10.
I don't know. One of our friends actually bought this Surface tablet, and you could not install an application on it that was not.
So
on
Windows
the App
10s
Store.
can be
Okay, so
deactivated
then, yeah, it's
and
Windows
turned
10s.
into Windows
But you
10.
That's the newer version, but the
it
old
requires a Microsoft account to do that, by the way.
But the older version wouldn't let you, like before Windows 10s, they had an equivalent of Windows 10s.
Yeah, that was
won't let
Windows
you-
RT.
I'm unaware of
Yeah,
that.
Windows RT. Windows RT is what it was
Windows RT
called.
is crap. So Windows 10s.
So make sure you don't get a Windows RT.
Don't get Windows RT.
So Windows 10s you could transition over to. The whole thing with Windows RT is that it was ARM based, while Windows 10s is x86 based.
Okay.
Interesting.
So the Surface Go runs a full fat x86 processor. It is not a super powerful x86 processor. It is 2 cores, 4 threads. It's a Pentium processor. It has 4 to 8 gigs of RAM depending on which model you get. And it wouldn't be my primary device. However, if I needed to code on it, it had enough horsepower that I probably could. It comes with a Surface. It comes with like a detachable keyboard. So you could attach the keyboard, fold it over, and then there you go. You got your little and it had a pen you could use.
So you mentioned that having that like 2-in-1 where you can fold it all the way around and like write on it. I've seen those, but I've never used them. Do you have any experience
Yeah, so
using them?
Haley actually, she went on her parents when she bought her laptop and she went shopping. They actually went out of their way to find her a laptop that folded over and had a Windows Ink pen. She could physically write notes into her laptop.
Interesting.
And they're really nice. And I see them all the time on campus.
Yeah, just don't get a first generation one because some of the first ones had problems with their hinges. But since then, they've gotten much better. They're
Now,
inch
I
design.
personally, and now the XPS 15, they don't make a 2-in-1 for. But if I were to go and buy another XPS 13, I would probably go and buy the 2-in-1.
Interesting.
And the reason why is because of that hinge where you could flip it over and grab a pen and write on it.
See, that's what I think is great. Now, I just recently, again, like against my will, I've mentioned it before, I got a free upgrade for my phone and got the Samsung Galaxy Note 9, which, again, it was a gimmick to me to have a stylus, but the more I've used it, I realized the palm rejection that is great. Like, basically, if you're writing on the phone, you cannot accidentally type anything with your palm.
And I've actually considered going to get a Samsung S22 Ultra because I want to get a phone with a stylus.
Right, and I think that's wonderful. Like in my experience, I've used that Note app, and I think, wow, if they were all like this, maybe this would be worthwhile.
Windows Ink is actually surprisingly good. So I know you're more of a Windows guy than a Mac guy. So I think that you would probably like utilize the Windows Ink quite heavily. And the pens are not that expensive, like $50. They're not like the Apple Pencil is like $130 for something that isn't even powered.
Now, ultimately, I guess what I am is I'm a power user, and I think that's where I start to draw the line with Apple. Is like they don't seem to support.
Here's the thing: all
mentality.
all of the developers I know run Macs. Are the people I talk to frequently.
But
run
see, how
Macs.
much control do you have of the OS? Because I mean, I still have my iPod for 7 years, and I don't dislike.
These are
the
also,
ability to
but these
root
are also
thing.
the people who make enough money that they end up upgrading their laptop every year anyway because they want to.
That's ridiculous to me.
I like
don't
to
understand
try to
that.
get the most mileage out of my devices, which is why I still use my ancient device. And It still works.
And if that's how you are, that's fine. In that case,
Well,
I would recommend going and buying not an Apple device and buying like a Windows laptop, like a nice XPS 13 2-in-1. So in a decade, you can switch over to Linux and still be able to use it reasonably.
I mean, that's why I still got my laptop running, is because it has
Dell
Linux on it.
has the best OEM Linux support that I have found. I had no external drivers.
Is
I
that
had to
true
install.
when you add framework to the mix?
No, the framework doesn't have a 2-in-1 device.
Fair enough.
So if I had known about framework when I was shopping for this laptop,
You're definitely paying a premium.
depending
for it.
on my
But-
situation, I might have bought the framework. But I had a friend who worked for a subsidiary of Dell at the time, and I got $400 off this laptop. So this is the
That's a pretty hefty discount.
this is
I
the
gotta say.
$1,500 model. I got it for $1,100 after tax. So like
Alright,
I got
that's not
quite
bad.
the discount. For
But
this
it also
laptop.
doesn't have a GPU, right? So that's still a lot of
No,
money
but they
for
don't make
a
GPUs in the
GPU-less.
XPS laptops.
Yeah.
They do, just not the 13.
Not the 13, yeah. Which is honestly,
Right, because doesn't that laptop that you've got
That's like a
Kyle, have
2060 in it.
2060 in it?
It does, and the
Yeah.
new ones have a 3060 in it.
yeah. The XPS
That is a lot of power for
the
a laptop.
XPS 15 I was looking at has a 3050 in it.
3050. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is a 3050, but they're going to be upgrading soon. They're going to be refreshing to the 12th gen Intel chips, and I want to wait for them to do the refresh and see the review on the refresh before I go out and buy another one.
Ooh, this has Intel UHD graphics 630.
Oh man, that sounds like the same graphics.
That's really
my
funny
laptop
because there's
has.
literally a sticker on your laptop that says NVIDIA GeForce GTX.
I stole that sticker from my friend's gaming
Oh,
laptop.
that's
That's so
hilarious.
good. Oh
He thought
man,
it was funny.
that's
Yeah.
good.
No wonder.
Actually, I was surprised at how like well this laptop runs games. I was like legit surprised.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect it to be that good because it's just an i7.
Well,
but-
you know, there's a company called GDP that likes to make these weird console.
Yeah,
like,
I'm
they
aware
made
of
the
them.
Steam Deck before the Steam Deck was cool, and they put Intel Xe chips in them,
yeah, sure.
and they run fine.
To answer Ian, one of your questions earlier as to why do you get a new laptop every year?
Yeah.
And that's that.
You want to feel cool. You
The
wanna
company
really
pays
be-
for it.
That's the first
Okay,
reason.
I
But the
guess
second reason
that's-
is
yeah.
depending on what you're doing, you will probably save that much money just in compile times,
Huh. Interesting.
which is really ridiculous to think about.
But if the company is paying me for the compile times anyway, I'm not sure I'm saving the money. Maybe the company.
But
is
if you're
saving the money.
self-employed like me, you do care,
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
or startup employed, you do care.
Yeah. So if you're self-care,
Do you, though?
then you
They-
should
they
care.
pay you salaried wage, right?
They do, but I'm legally a contractor,
All right, fair enough.
But
which also means I can
so
go get other jobs.
so Alex, I want to tell you a story.
All right.
All right,
Alright.
I'm here
Lay it
for
on me.
Is this related to the topic at hand?
Sure.
Yes, it's very related because he is asking for what devices to buy. So once upon a time, there were two roomies that were going to college, right?
All right.
And roomie number one, which is myself, decided
Okay.
I have the same thing as you, right? I don't want to be a caveman anymore. I think you're a caveman now. Right?
Yeah. Banging rocks together using paper for all my
Exactly.
notes in every meeting.
Yep, you're literally holding a rock or graphite and you're banging it against a tree, you know?
Yes.
Like,
Graphite. Oh
I
my
bought
God.
a paper planner every single year, and I'm like, this is the last year I do this, and then I keep doing it.
yep, yeah. Well, the thing is, it takes kind of a lot. Like when
Yeah.
so what
Planners
I
are
did.
$20. Laptops are more than that.
That's true. But ever since I did this, I've not bought one. So I saved $20 every
All right.
3 times a semester or whatever, 3 times a year. I bought myself a high-powered laptop and I bought myself a iPad. I've gone through several generations before this of trying to switch, and I never ended up successfully switching until this time. And ever since then, I've used my iPad consistently.
Interesting.
My roommate saw this and saw me digitally taking notes because one thing in college, especially in engineering,
Right.
you have pages and pages and pages of homework that you have to do.
Oh, sure, yeah.
One line to another, especially like in electronics, these equations that you're copying from line to line are like 20 inches long, you know?
Don't bring those memories back, please.
Well, one of the reasons
I
I bring
blocked them out.
one of the reasons I bring this memory back is because I did that on my iPad.
Sure.
From line to line, I actually just copied and pasted them.
Oh,
And then
nice.
I would just like change and do like my step,
Interesting.
and then I could copy and paste it or whatever. And then other places like you would do something and then you have to like make it work, right? Versus
Right.
on my iPad, I can literally move it, you know? And I've gotten so used to it now that if I ever go to a normal piece of paper, I will sometimes catch myself like writing something and then wanting to move it. And I get to the wanting to move it, and I'm like, that's not how this works.
So
Oh,
I do
no.
so I used to do my homework with a Wacom tablet.
Oh, I remember this
in Photoshop, right?
in class.
No, not in class. But oh my God, there have been times like, where you were sitting and taking an exam and it's like, I really wish that I could just like select this and move it over here. And
yep, exactly.
That's what you did.
It's so useful.
I wish I could do that on a real piece of paper.
Me too. Yeah. I mean, without a glue stick or something.
Yeah, right.
Cut it out, move it on the exam. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
because that is super advantageous, my roommate at the time, who also was in engineering and had to do these really long complex equations or whatever, saw that and was like, dude, I want to try that. So his solution was to get one of the Lenovo Fold laptops. And with I think it's called the Lenovo Yoga, with one of their pens with palm rejection. And he tried it for a little bit, but after a while, it's just the palm rejection. It was a combination between the palm rejection not being quite good enough and also the fact that Windows is so finicky oftentimes that it ended up becoming super duper annoying to him. And then it was so annoying that he ended up only using it as an actual laptop, and he went back to using pencil and paper like a caveman.
Interesting.
And ever since, he's only used pencil and paper.
I think ultimately that's my fear, is that I'll get something and I'll be like, oh, great, I'm going to change my way of life and I'm going to do everything on this new device. And then I'll just go full caveman mode and be like, nah, this isn't my planner. This isn't my notebook. I need to go back to it.
Yeah, but I mean, I will say though, with me and my iPad, it did still take quite a lot of learning to do something, because the problem is, like, if you have a piece of paper, you already know what your solutions are, right? Like, you run out of piece of paper, okay, I can go and like buy more paper or flip a page, you know? I need to turn this in. Okay, I can tear this out of this notebook. If you want to do something that you don't want to tear the pages out or whatever, I guess you could technically photocopy it or
Scan
something.
it, whatever.
But when you're fully digital and you need to turn in a physical piece of paper, you're like, what do I do? Okay, I need to print this out. And then let's say you're on an iPad. How do I print out this thing? And then
AirPrint and be like,
yeah, how does printing on an Apple product work?
Actually, it was surprisingly seamless.
I have not used that.
When I remember I had an iPhone, the printing was surprisingly seamless. I didn't even have to install like an HP app like I did on my phone. All I had to do was click the print button and it would detect my printer, and I clicked the printer and it worked.
I think
Our home
Android
printer
phones
wasn't
sort of
very
like that
friendly,
now,
but,
right? Because aren't the Linux drivers for printers usually pretty okay?
They're actually identical. I've actually never had a problem with like a pre-built distro like Manjaro. I've never had a problem with printers because it was just like Apple, where it would detect it and you don't need HP's bullshit driver. It would just work.
God, the HP drivers are insanity.
It bothers me so much that on Microsoft, a multi-billion-dollar company, a almost trillion-dollar company, requires us to install a fucking driver to work with a stupid printer.
Man, that's supposed
Hey,
to be
it
plug and
might
play.
work with the printer if you're lucky.
I mean, over the network.
the other really cool thing is I got...
No, if you're lucky, it'll work. But yeah, you can do the
apparently,
add
I
a
am not
printer or
lucky.
scanner or whatever. But it's skeptical.
Well, I'm not lucky when it comes to WinDerbs. So
Yeah, one thing that was really cool is when I got my iPad, I got it the generation that the Pro model used USB-C.
that's all new. All new iPads except for the iPad
normal edition.
The normal iPad use USB-C now.
Yeah, which is really cool. And also, I would recommend that you get the iPad Air, because it is the same, basically exactly the same as the Pro, except it doesn't have quite as powerful as a chip, except it's an iPad, so you can't really utilize the chip. And And it also doesn't have a 120 hertz refresh rate, I think. I think it only has a 60 hertz refresh rate.
For an iPad, that's probably fine.
Yeah, I personally really like it, but I'm spoiled. You know.
So yours is the Air?
I have the iPad Pro 12.9 inch. And
the big boy iPad.
Yeah, the big boy iPad. The reason why I got it is because it's the same size as a piece of paper, but I guess the small one is the same size as, a composition piece of paper. And also you can zoom in and zoom out and stuff like that too.
See, I'm still not an Apple person. I would still not buy this.
They are very expensive, aren't they?
That's what I thought as well. Oh, in terms of, I thought I wouldn't buy it, but then when I bought it, bought it with the intent also of returning it, but then it ended up being so useful. I was like, wow, this is actually my number one purchase in all of college.
All right.
Yeah, well,
that's
according
how
to the website, you can both edit 4K video and 10 times faster machine learning.
Bullshit.
I disagree. You definitely can edit 4K video on it.
SoC is pretty
M1
impressive.
is really cool. I will acknowledge that Apple did great things with the M1. I think the M1 is a very cool chip.
I'm very curious to see what the M2 brings, actually.
I don't like their locked down platform still. I'm sorry. If I could run Linux on an M1, I would have bought it.
What the hell is a neural engine?
Wait, wasn't there a project that was running Linux on an M1?
It means that
Yes,
whenever...
It was just the Mac Mini, right?
It was the Mac Mini and only one core worked.
Oh,
I don't know. This is a
only
sales
one
page.
core?
I just take it as
You were
a
running.
sales page. I don't take it as an
You were
engineering
running
page.
full.
Well, I can tell you what it is.
I thought it was all cores and not
this is
just a
what you're
single.
I'm gonna see if they
one.
updated that. Actually, see if they got it working.
Yeah, so
M1
it means like whenever you're running a neural network, instead of it taking all of your processor, all of your GPU, the neural chip will take over.
What runs a neural network on an iPad?
Often, like if you're ever
It's a
using
VM. I
the
don't
the face,
care.
anything that's modifying your face, for example, will do that.
It's a
Different
VM.
applications that are doing mainly it's visual effects, I'd guess.
Interesting.
All right, is the number one use case.
I
However, I will say before I say this, I would not recommend buying any Apple product until 3 days from when this is being recorded. And the reason is because
isn't Apple? Don't they have a new announcement coming out on Tuesday?
they do, yeah.
So here's, I guess, that's the one thing that if anything, I'll comment on it because I know it's easy to be like, I know about tech. I want to hate Apple because it's cool and that's what everyone else does in the power user kind of circle. My parents both have iPad minis. And as somebody who often troubleshoots them for my parents, I will say it's a little frustrating that these devices are maybe 7 or 8 years old.
DART.
Not even that old, I guess. I don't know the exact date. Let's just go on ahead and say 5 to 6 years to be safe. And so much of the software is not supported anymore. So my dad's running into problems. He's like, I'm trying to use this website and it says like your browser's not supported. And of course I have to be like, well, it probably isn't an issue. Let's take a look at it. But he can't update his iOS because they stopped supporting the device. So what is like I know planned obsolescence is like the biggest issue.
I've noticed Apple
people
is
have with
better
that.
with their desktop
They're
and their laptops.
They're better than any Android.
Well, I know, but what is that? What does the life cycle of one of these
whatever you
devices
call it.
look like? Because I guess if you break it down like as a X cost per year, maybe it's something justifiable. Like, I guess how old is your device?
My device is the very first iPad Pro refresh design. So I think it was 2019.
2019.
I
Okay, so
recall.
you've had it for 3 years.
Yeah.
Or so. Okay.
Yep. And
How many more years do you hope to get out of it?
I would not be surprised if I get 5 more years out of it, honestly,
Okay.
actually.
All right.
Apple is really good about like so they're more expensive up front, but if you look at how long they keep support for the devices, they keep support longer than most Android manufacturers.
And Windows
I would say it's
manufacturers,
probably
actually.
all Android
Yeah.
manufacturers, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, Google might be the only one that has been good.
Even
about
closely
supporting them.
rivals
Yeah, even
them.
closely. But
But
then,
even then,
they
I'm pretty
dropped.
sure that
they're
dropped
dropping
supports.
support for the Pixel 2 this year.
Or also like Samsung tablets.
Yeah, when did they drop
no,
support for
Samsung's-
the Pixel 1? No, Samsung's really bad, isn't it?
Samsung's
Just
bad.
like
Like
about
the
a
second,
year?
no, it's 2. The second the
Really?
phone is
Oh my
like
God, really?
the second people like pay off their new Samsungs, they like drop all support. for it.
Nice.
That's rough.
It is rough.
Yeah, I know it's not long.
The
Samsung's really bad about it.
the Apple Pencil is best in class in terms of pressure support and tilt
They are
sensitivity.
best in class. Yeah,
They're kind of expensive, especially
they
with
are very expensive for a pen.
How
They're
does
like
that compare to like a
$130.
high-end like Wacom drawing tablet or something?
the thing is with the Wacom drawing tablet, the one you'd have to compare it to is actually just as expensive as the iPad because you have to compare it to the one that has a screen in it, right?
Fair.
Because the iPad has a
Fair.
screen.
Right.
But
And not only that, but it doesn't have
a
as-
drawing tablet. I think.
But not only that, it doesn't even have as good of a screen as an iPad, depending on the version that you get. It doesn't have 120 hertz refresh rate. It doesn't have.
I'm not sure you need 120 hertz refresh rate for drawing.
It depends if you're doing animation, for example.
I know, but that's one of those things like even my roommate
Even
told me, you're
then,
spoiled.
I
Once you
don't
get a
know.
high refresh rate display, going back to a low
I mean,
refresh
yeah,
rate
you're not
is
wrong
like-
about that. I want
you're-
my 144 hertz
Right.
everywhere, please.
Anytime my roommate would look at my 60 hertz display, he'd be like, "Oh man, my eyes."
It actually hurts me to go to
I don't
60
see
hertz.
it.
I didn't
can't
think it
tell.
would, but
yeah, yeah. That's
There
what
are
they
so
say.
many people who say they can't see it or they can only see 30 hertz, and it's just not.
See, for like,
not right.
for like
Nobody's
work,
right.
I'm
it's
fine
true if
with
that's all you've
60
ever
hertz.
known. If when I was on 30 hertz, I remember looking at 60 hertz screen and back to my 30 hertz screen, I was like, I cannot tell the difference. Even 144 and 30, I was like, I cannot tell. But now that I've lived on 144 hertz, I go back and I'm like, what is going on?
Right.
And it's that it's missing half or
Yeah.
a fourth of the frame.
Yeah,
I mean, of
so
the frames.
I'm when it comes to refresh, I would prefer refresh rate over resolution any day.
Okay, sure.
However, I am not as much of a refresh rate snob as some of the other. Like when I'm playing games,
Right.
oh fuck yeah, I want as
Yeah.
much frames as I can. But if I'm just working, why the fuck do I need 144 hertz when I'm
Because
just
it's
coding?
smoother.
Yeah,
No, I
well-
don't know. I agree with that a little bit.
I will say though.
Oh
once-
look, 120, 144 hertz. The console's updating at. Oh my god, like, I don't care.
Once YouTube started like widely accepting and supporting 60 hertz videos, going back to any of the other ones, I would definitely tell the difference because I would look at one of the like 60 hertz videos and be like, "Whoa, this is so smooth." It's like I'm there, you know. And then you go back
Buttery.
to anything else and you're like, Oh yeah, this is what I remember. This is the normal run of the mill every day.
When I'm
refresh
watching
rate.
video, I don't care as much, honestly.
But also on the iPad, like
Yeah.
having to share stuff, like you don't like save to a file system, you like
Right.
share it between the apps, and it's kind of like strange in that
A lot of
aspect.
cloud storage.
Yeah,
right?
cloud stuff also.
How much is the damn pencil?
It's like
It's
$130,
$100,
I think he said.
Yeah, I want to see if it's still that much.
Yeah, it's still $100.
100,
It's
99, 130,
Yeah, it's
or 100 for the first gen.
I mean, one way to look at
You-
that is
you
like
need-
that. It's almost like it's more than 10% that costs the device. What does that end up being for the device? I guess depending
So
on
the device-
you
so the
get, it's
iPad
like
Air was
15%
600.
the
Yeah,
cost of the
Oh,
device.
really? Okay.
Yeah, the iPad
But,
Air. Was 600.
is it worth it? I guess that's the question.
So
I would be
here's
interested in answering.
I've told you about some of the pros. Let me tell you about
Sure.
the cons.
Okay.
Right. The con is that you cannot download a random app off the internet and install it.
Sure.
All your apps need to come from the App Store.
Right.
Unless you
For the average person, that's not a problem. But for
Right.
a power user like us or programmers like us, that's a little bit of a downside.
So that's one thing to
Definitely.
consider. It's a pro and a con. It's the security versus the power.
What, security through obscurity or something almost? I don't know.
Security through Monopoly.
Security by having a annoying series of steps you have to do to get your app approved.
Actually, a few, I think, I don't know if it was the FCC or if it was the European Union, but one of those is considering basically forcing Apple to require additional app stores to be allowed.
Yeah, I hope that it goes through personally.
I think that would be beneficial as well. I think that having a third-party app store would be beneficial for people like power users that want to be able to install, say, a suite of apps that hasn't gone through the whole chain of events. And I'll be able to say, I'm not shitting on Apple.
Can you
'cause
imagine
Google-
putting Steam on your iPad?
Yeah, I think that'd be hard.
Well, first of all, it is on the App Store. You can get that app, but
I mean, Steam, actually downloading games off
But
of Steam.
sure, I
and putting
mean
your iPad.
that's one of the things. So somebody, I don't remember, maybe one of you guys shared this some couple of weeks ago, that there was this guy who had a Google app, and there was one slight issue with the naming of the app or some description of the app. Somebody used a blacklisted word in 100% honesty. I think it was the word free, that you weren't allowed to use the word free in a certain category of apps if XYZ conditions applied, and they got their app taken down for no reason, but it was only because a translation of that app description in another language then flagged the system to say your app is banned from the store. So there are stupid rules for the big app stores, all of them. And I agree that I think that's dumb and that there's some merit to it, but it's dumb to not allow that anywhere.
I don't know.
But yeah,
Android is only open source, though.
that's a good point, that
No,
allowing
actually,
other app
there
stores
are
to be
certain
beneficial.
Apps on
the problem is it's
Android that have,
beneficial.
quote, anti-features.
But it's free still.
The problem is it's beneficial for users, but not necessarily beneficial for Apple. All Apple would get is some more fanboys that would actually be okay, this is what was stopping me. Was the lack of a USB-C port and a lack of an open
yeah,
store.
but they charge so much, and their
don't-
products are designed to fail. They'll make money anyway.
Well, don't they take a lot of a chunk of money out of all paid transactions on the App Store on the
Depends
App
on
Store
what app
trademark?
store it is. If
30%?
it's a third-party
That's a
app
big
store,
chunk
they're
of
probably
money,
not taking
right?
That's a big chunk of money.
So, I mean, as a developer in general, I could see why people might be like, ooh.
Well, I understand.
If you make
it's
less than
kind
$1
of-
million, you can apply for 15%.
that
So
seems
I
like
understand.
a cop-out.
This is kind of going back to the debate of Epic Games is poaching developers, and Epic Games'
Yeah, well,
whole
yeah.
pull was that they take significantly less than Steam does, and I understand that. But I'm under the opinion that you should just put it on every. Why not just put it on every store
Right.
then?
Because you can lose money, and or then you'd have to price it differently, and then people would attack you that you're changing the prices depending on where it is.
Yeah,
Or you
it's
price it the
complicated. I understand
same
that.
and
Personally, I
accept
would
that
just
people have different preferences in
yeah,
the store.
I would. That's what I would
know.
do. I would just put it on everything and say, if you want to complain about it, complain about it. I don't really give a shit.
Okay.
But anyway, so then my next concern about the iPad, though, I understand your pros for it, but one of the cons is
Yeah, I
this.
didn't say all the cons yet.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
in the middle.
but I just finished configuring. Okay, let's say Alex were to go and get the 64 gig iPad Air, which is not a lot of storage in my opinion.
No.
It depends what he's doing. As long as he's not 4K, as long as he's not video editing, actually, I think it'd be fine.
My
60
phone is
so this-
128 gigs, and I think that's
So this is the
okay.
cheapest iPad Air you can buy for $600.
Okay.
This is with an Apple Pencil and an Apple keyboard, because I assume he'd want both, because he'd want the ability to type like a normal human being.
If I could find a way to use a mechanical keyboard with a USB interface, I would. But
Well, you can use. There's Bluetooth mechanical.
all right, bet.
Yeah, it's USB-C. It's Thunderbolt 4.
On my
I think, so.
keyboard that I use on a daily basis is a Bluetooth mechanical keyboard.
So then, can you use a USB-C to USB-A adapter thing on an iPad and plug in just a regular keyboard to your device?
Absolutely.
Maybe. I'm really impressed by that. I'm surprised that they don't have any special restrictions.
not only
in
that,
there.
but you can even plug it into an external
Apple
display.
keyboard.
You can even plug it into an external display.
That I'm surprised by. I mean, at least they're
You messing with
finally
Apple's
building
fancy
on that
website?
iPad,
No, I'm trying to see, like, can you
idea of
compare
the
how
iPad being
your video
that
is
one,
versus
like,
mine? 'Cause this is pretty
tablet
dog shit.
and computer sort of thing that you have.
I'm getting like 10 FPS.
Because the
on this
original
website.
iPads were just a tablet. They were totally unusable as like an actual computer. I remember the idea behind the iPad was that it would be a
I
replacement
think yours is definitely
for your
rendering
computer.
better than mine.
But
Yeah,
it
this
never
is
really
sad. Look at
was
this.
because it was so locked down and restricted. And
For some people, it totally could replace their computer. But the problem is, and again, another big
yeah,
con
maybe for your grandma.
that I haven't
but-
gotten
Your
to.
grandma.
No, I would argue there's a lot of millennials that could probably use this as their
Yeah,
primary computer.
I would
Yeah,
say
maybe,
a
but that's 'cause
majority of
they've grown up
millennials
on it.
actually could. But
I disagree, but yeah.
a big
Oh, you plays
con
Fortnite.
is you probably use lots of software that
Yes.
runs on Windows.
Yes.
Sure, certainly, yeah.
I've been trying to switch to OSS, but yeah.
You cannot run Windows on the iPad.
No, of course.
Technically, you can run Windows on the iPad, but it only with like 2 gigs of RAM. It doesn't have enough RAM to like.
Wait, I'm
support it.
sorry. What? Even okay, wait.
I
Going
would
back,
assume it's
the
a
fact that they
VM.
even got that to work. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's pretty
assume
impressive.
It's a VM, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically useless.
oh, fun fact: one of the new features of the new version of Android that's coming out is you're going to be able to run Linux VMs on your phone.
That's pretty cool.
Nice.
Well,
I just want to run.
I
full
already
Linux
have
on
run
the phone,
Windows
though.
VMs on my phone, and also Windows VMs on my phone.
Nice.
The thing about VMs is like, depending on the VM, they can be actually usable, in my opinion. But
Yeah, I actually considered when I was shopping for laptops, I considered buying a MacBook Air M1 instead of this laptop.
I remember when I was really young and wanted to buy a MacBook Air.
Well, specifically, I almost bought a MacBook Air M1. I wanted the specific because I was shopping around the time the M1.
Yeah, this would have been like 2012.
So yeah,
2011,
this was like
2010.
a year ago.
So with my current configuration, I go everywhere
I just paid this laptop off. It's
with
been a year.
this laptop or my other laptop
Okay.
Oh, did you finance that?
and my
I didn't
iPad.
know
Right. So you use them in tandem.
All right,
Yeah,
fair enough,
like
okay.
literally in my bag over there is my iPad.
So what would you say your laptop, what purpose your laptop fulfills that your iPad can't do?
I can't, for example, open VS Code on my
There
iPad.
you go. Okay.
That's not true.
It's not quite true.
Really?
That's correct.
okay. Well,
Yes, and the reason why is because I've actually done
Anymore.
this before. I've ran a code.
Parsec or something?
No,
Or-
I've ran a code server. It's called a code server, and the
Okay.
idea is that you log into the server, you put in a username and password, and you get full VS Code in your browser with extensions, with remote access to a server, all of this stuff. So you
But
can
it's
then
a
develop.
browser, so you're already losing
It is
performance.
a browser. You're losing performance, but you can still do your developer stuffs remotely,
guess.
which is really cool.
Yeah.
I
It's
don't
really
know. I
cool.
still want to develop at my high frame rates and with as low latency as possible.
I develop command line applications.
So I wonder though, like as much as I
know.
enjoy the touch interface for like specifically for your laptop and the fact that it runs an operating system I'm used to.
Full fat Windows.
Well, there you go. As somebody who again prefers that control and like the familiarity, would you specifically recommend an iPad over a laptop for me?
For you, I think it's less about iPad versus laptop and more about, I think for now, you need a laptop no matter what.
Yeah.
And then
If
on top of
if
it,
I change
add an
jobs,
iPad.
I'm out of luck. I got to give this back.
exactly.
Right.
So, and a lot of people our age actually even don't have laptops actually or
Right.
desktops at all. They only have their phone. Their only competing device is their
Interesting.
phone.
That's yeah.
I
guess
know a
that's
lot of
fair.
people who don't have. They have like a lot. They have their phone and they have like an iPad and
Like a
that's all they
school
have.
computer or
I don't.
something.
I don't know a lot of people who just have their phone. I know a lot of people who have either a phone and a tablet or like a phone and a laptop, but that's all
Right.
they have.
Yeah.
That's what I know.
Yep. Yeah.
We're the weird ones in our generation where we're
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah,
have a
we don't
laptop,
realize it.
I have a desktop,
No, we don't.
I have a phone, I have 4 servers in my basement.
Yeah. I basically own like 6 computers and I never realized it until now. And I mean like computers, like traditional computers in a sense that it's some kind of like input output system that I use regularly for things like computation and storage,
yeah.
as opposed to like, the computers in your car. There's 100 of them or whatever.
Thank
I
you,
mean, like-
Adams.
well, no, I mean specifically, I'm like talking like, I guess if we're talking like my phone and my iPod and my laptop here and my other laptop that's ancient but still works at home and my PC and my server, like I own a lot of what you could consider, a PC or a personal device. And some people might not have one or two,
It'd be kind of interesting for us to do a video where each of us like brings our. It's called an EDC or everyday carry. Have you guys heard of it?
Interesting. No, I haven't.
So basically, there's a bunch of videos online that's titled EDC or everyday carry.
Normally, when I hear everyday carry, I think of guns, but I'm just an American.
And what it is though is you take your backpack out, for example, like MKBHD or any of the other like
Okay.
really high and popular YouTubers do this, where They take out their bag and they showcase what tech goes with them everywhere.
I could do that right now if you wanted me to.
Yeah, so
I
often.
would, but I didn't bring, like, I only brought like half the stuff I know.
Yeah, I think we should do like an
which I
actual
think is
video
pretty
for it.
You think you
interesting.
should make this a video that we do?
Yeah, like an actual
Okay.
video.
That
Casual
would be
Coders
super
Everyday
funny
Carry.
to me because I think you guys might judge me a little bit on how much of old technology I keep.
Yeah, and that'd be kind of
Like,
fun.
I think it's super
Well,
funny.
no, that I get like your point because you're like, let's use the piss out of this.
Yeah, I'm like, I might as well use it until it dies.
Until it actually dies, you use it, which is kind of like how Ian is too. You use it
Yeah.
until it dies.
You're not wrong on that one, yeah.
To this day, and I know I probably mentioned this before, to this day, I still use, once I found my brother's old MP3 player from 2007 that takes micro SD cards.
Hell yeah.
I've loaded that shit up with micro SD cards, and I use that almost daily in the car.
Oh, that is your audio
wonderful.
player.
From
Hell yeah.
2007. Because it's got infinite storage. I have so
works.
many micro SD cards.
Keep
You
the
just
thing
buy
out of the
more of them.
landfill, something
Right.
like that. I don't know, man.
Right.
Yeah.
And the little crappy battery in there is like only slightly swollen to the point where it only like slightly broke the
Slightly
case.
swollen.
And it still
pillows.
works. It still works.
Spicy pillows.
Right.
Spicy
yeah.
pillows.
Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, yeah, I'm all about getting the most out of my devices, even if it means I have to sacrifice some usability to keep it working.
And for me, I am striving
get
to be
that.
the maximum efficiency no matter what.
Right. So
Right.
I think that makes sense that
Yeah.
you want to
But
pick a newer
maximum
device.
efficiency is like a 3090 and then a 4090 and
Well,
a 5090 and like the highest end thing every year, and that just becomes really expensive.
Not if it burns
Except-
all your power.
Except if it saves you more money than it costs, then it's still the most efficient option.
Right.
I mean, I guess, but at what point? Like, you're really
gotta do the
gotta
math.
be
That's the
using that
point. I guess that's what
3090
you
and
calculate,
that
right?
So, like,
3090 and that 5090.
The
right?
bottom line is, Alex,
Yes.
I think we recommend you to still go out and buy a laptop instead of an iPad.
But don't be surprised if you go back to your caveman, at least from the pencil and paper ways.
You know, specifically, I've been thinking about this even more than usual because I have my 5-star notebook from school that I had 3 different classes in and I still didn't fill up. And then it was my work notebook for about a year and some change. And now I'm at that point where I have about 5 or 6 pages left in that notebook. And I'm like, all right, do I spend the $2 to get a new notebook or do I get my laptop? Do I get an iPad or whatever? So, yeah.
Well, they're like about to refresh, you know? So
Yeah,
if there's
I
a
would-
time,
I
so
would
I'll hold
wait.
my decision off for a couple more days.
yeah, it's
Well, not
about
just
to be the
even
time to do
iPad.
it.
I would wait like another month or two because Dell's going to be refreshing all their laptops. Asus is going to be refreshing because even not just Apple, everyone's going to be refreshing their laptops with the new 12th gen CPUs that Intel just dropped a
But
couple
they
months
are
ago.
always, right? I mean, that's
They
kind of
are
the point.
always, but
It's once
once
per
you-
year, but you're at 11 months right now, you know?
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's up
you're
to
just
you.
saying you
So
might as well wait.
You might as well wait a month
Okay.
and then wait for all the refreshes to come out and then go shopping and then we can talk
build my new PC too.
both.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, speaking of, do we want to make your PC build a casual coders video?
Now that could be interesting.
You would want that to be.
I mean, may as well. Anything is content.
Honestly, I kind of thought building the server was really fun. I thought that was a fun like
right,
LTT
all right.
spoof video to do.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I don't know if we really spoofed LTT, but I think it was fun no
I
matter
think
what.
it could
so.
be fun
I
just to
enjoy
take a
building
trip to Micro
computers.
Center.
Take a trip to
film
Micro
it.
Center with the camera.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Last time I did that, I bought a 3D printer.
Hey, Micro Center, if you want to sponsor us, right? I don't know.
Yeah, but so do we want to discuss your potential PC build that'll be coming up soon?
We could talk about it briefly. I think, I guess for a little bit of background, so my current PC I built in the summer of 2016. So I had gotten my first several credit cards. I wanted to start building credit. I was just starting in college, and I wanted to build a PC because my at the time my only PC was basically like scrap. I always had hand-me-down electronics. So I was like, all right, I want a PC that I could play games on. You know, I was used to playing on a laptop. So 20 frames per second was my goal for most things. And I didn't often achieve it. So I was like, all right, I need a new PC. I want storage to get all my stuff in line. I would like to have new hardware. So what I did was I signed up for a credit card. I got approved and they said, here's your sign-on bonus. You get like $200 off your first 3 months of transactions if you had to spend more than $1,000. And I was like, whoa, why don't I spend $800 on a PC and then groceries and all that other stuff? Boom, I get my credit back. So, you know, of course it's just a gimmick to make, you know, them a little bit of money and to prey on people who aren't going to pay their bill. But
Yeah, you should do it only if you're going to spend that much money anyways.
I wanted to build credit, so that was the primary goal. But also getting a free $200 off $1,000 was
credit card churning
was
/ credit card churning.
Yes, was a pretty good deal. So what I did in the summer of 2016 was I built my PC on. I used a little bit of everything. I used PC Part Picker and I used Newegg.com to actually order all the parts. And what I did was that I signed up for the card. I picked some, dozen or so parts. I wanted to get, I was okay with the physical hard drive. I wanted an optical drive because of how many CDs and everything I use. I had my list of things I wanted to do, and I spent about a week or 2 weeks optimizing my perfect build at the time. Of course, this was pre-Bitcoin mining, thank God. So I got an MSRP or cheaper graphics card. Wow, I remember what that was like. Anyone else? So anyway, I got a GTX 960. I got a mid-range Core i5 processor. I don't even know, it was 6th gen at the time, which was, I guess, like maybe 1 gen out of date. Again, 2016. You can do the math if you care. I got 16 gigs of RAM. I got a terabyte of storage. I got basically everything I needed. I had a goal of like $800, and I spent, $800 and change. So I was able to transfer an old Windows license, so it was right around $800. And it was everything I needed. I had it for school. I could do all my schoolwork on there. I had my, my code could compile on there. I could do any amount of video editing or whatever for my hobbies. I could do my storage for all my crap that I accumulate over the years. It did everything I needed it to do. And on the bonus side of things, the GTX 960 was a hell of a lot better than any integrated graphics I ever had. So I could actually play my old video games with 100% amazing frame rate for what I was used to. So I was used to, again, almost 20 frames per second. Now I was like, wow, I can get better than 60. This is amazing. I've never seen this before. Now, that being said, so here we are some, 6 or 7 years later, and I'm still using that PC. Now, I had picked budget parts at the time, and now I'm kind of at that point where I'm like, well, I upgraded the storage. I upgraded because, of course, once I got this work laptop with an SSD, my 1 to 2 minute boot time on my HDD was not tolerable anymore.
What is this? I can't go make a sandwich anymore every time I turn on.
Yeah, so I was used to like, okay, you want to play some games? Cool, I'm going to turn on my PC and then go do something for a couple minutes.
Which you still do, by the way.
Well, no, not anymore, because literally I turn on my PC and then 6 seconds later it asks me to enter in my PIN. So like we're at the point now where, I'm a little spoiled on that stuff and I'd never go back to the old way of doing things.
I have a small side story that's really related to what you just said.
Yes.
About the SSD stuff. I have a friend who just recently graduated high school, and I have an old broken laptop, like the hinge is broken, but it still works, and so I lent it to him, and it has an SSD in it. But before this, he only had like a super slow Chromebook because of the gift.
Yes.
So it's really funny seeing him use it for the first time because he would go and he'll click something and it'll be on his phone for like 30 or 40 seconds, and he'll go and click something and be on his phone for 30 or 40 seconds, and the laptop would load like roughly a second after he clicked it. But he didn't even check the laptop because he was just so used to having to wait, so he was wasting, quote unquote wasting. He was like losing out on 30 seconds of content every click. You know, it was like, wow.
No, I totally get it. It completely changed my perspective. The second, like within that first month, I was like, oh my God, what have I been doing? I go back to then me banging rocks together as a caveman using a hard drive, like a physical
But it was working.
drive. Right, it worked.
I don't know, man. I still love physical hard drives, bulk storage for cheap.
Well, see, that's the thing.
You're totally right that SSDs for boot drives and everything are the future.
So
they're fabulous.
I had the 1 terabyte hard drive, and then ultimately, of course, this isn't going to be a surprise to anyone who knows anything about anything. Warzone was what ultimately filled it up, and I went from having 200 gigabytes
Isn't Warzone
free.
Like 200 gigs. Or
Yes, I went
stupid?
from having 200 gigabytes free, basically 20% of my hard drive free, to
sure.
oh, you want to play Warzone? Cool. And then I ran out of space while downloading and installing Warzone. So what I did, I was like, okay,
insane,
let me delete some old crap on my hard drive. I had like a couple, I went from a couple hundred megabytes free to like 12 gigabytes because I deleted old crap. And I was like,
how big is Warzone? I don't know.
basically
It's
200
about
some
160
gigabytes.
gigs now.
Yeah.
Holy.
They
So-
cut out a bunch of it.
So, well, that's
cut
good that
out a
they
bunch of it?
optimized it.
Oh God.
So what I did, I was like, okay, well, let me just clear some stuff for now. I'm going to go on Newegg. I downloaded so I had a 1 terabyte hard drive. I said, let me get a 1 terabyte SSD and a 4 terabyte hard drive, and that will solve all my problems. And to this day, all of my data is stored on the HDD, and I do not have even 10% of it filled up. And then all my programs and most of my games are on the SSD, and that works beautifully for me. So,
It is your NAS.
yeah, well, yeah, there you go. So I actually have 3 drives in my PC. I have the old hard drive that I didn't get rid of, but I still used from transferring over all the files, and I just never removed it because I was like, what if I need something? So it's just my F drive. And then I have my A drive, which is the new hard drive, and then my C drive is the new SSD. So I've got 3 drives in my PC, which I use at least somewhat regularly. And that solved all my problems, but that was the most recent upgrade I ever did on my PC. So for like 6 years, I did nothing. I put nothing into it, and it still worked.
This man is brave overwriting his A drive.
Yeah. I was like, well, it's no floppy, but I'll put it there, So now I'm kind of at that point where I'm like, well, the components are starting to get a little old and crusty. My most recent escapade was having the thermal paste on my CPU basically dry out, and I was getting 90 C maximum load temperature on my CPU, and I
Great
thought,
for a laptop, but horrible for a
yeah,
desktop.
right, exactly. I was like, this doesn't seem to be right. So that's when I scraped off all the crusty old paste and then replaced it with some fresh paste, and then got those back down to like 40 or 50 under load, which was better, but I didn't destroy my CPU, luckily. So bless up, it's still working for now, but I'm getting to that point where I'm like, well, even with the 980 that I have been blessed with from being now the third-hand user.
Yes, you were the third. You were the fourth person to touch that 980.
Okay, so I've been fourth hand me down of the 980, which replaced my 960. Is it a 980 Ti or just the 980?
It's a 980 Ti. So the story of the 980 Ti is that James bought it off of eBay to be a mining GPU.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know it was secondhand for him. Okay.
So so James bought it off of eBay to be a mining GPU, and then he's like, my desktop kind of needs upgraded. So he then ended up using it as desktop as his primary gaming GPU for a few years. He upgraded to a 2070 Super. He put it in a server for a while. And then whenever he went off to the Marines, he gave it to me and said, do something with it. I don't care what, but if you sell it, give me the money.
Right.
Which is fine. So I never ended up selling it. I loaned it to my brother, and I told him, you can keep this until you buy a new GPU. And then he ended up giving it back to me when he went out and bought a 6600 XT. And then I'm like, well, I could mine on this, or I could give it to Alex. So I gave it to you and to loan it to you until you.
I guess that makes you the fifth user.
Yeah. So Chandler really pitied me, so he gave me this graphics card, which basically doubled my graphics power.
Yeah, effectively doubled it and increased your RAM by 2 gigs.
Yeah. So
VRAM.
2 gigs.
So I upgraded my 960 for the win with a 980 Ti, and
This is a chunky Zotac 980 Ti.
It definitely takes up
weighs
more
like
space
5
than the old one.
pounds.
It's a little bit louder.
I remember
but I
that
think
GPU. I'm pretty sure we had it on the podcast.
We
Yeah,
did it.
yeah. It was on the podcast.
A few episodes.
Real ones will remember.
Yeah.
That was the day of trade, wasn't it?
That was the day of trade. That was the day that I brought it so Alex could put it in his system.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Yes. So anyway, 6-7 years is it's gone by, and my PC is still chugging along, but I'm starting to think, well, if I'm gonna start looking at new hardware, things like I've always considered being VR ready. That's certainly nothing that my computer could do right now. My computer right now is not VR ready.
I mean, a 1060 will technically do it.
A 980 Ti
And I
will
don't
do.
have that.
A 980
Well,
Ti will
really?
do VR, yeah.
Yeah, but
How does I forget. How does a 980 Ti?
A 980
compare to
Ti is
1060?
roughly a 1070 in performance.
so
all right, so better than I am.
I would prefer better graphics. I could use more RAM. I have enough storage right now, that's for sure. But all my other components are basically 5 or 6 years old. So
Including the GPU. The GPU is 5 or 6
for
years
computers,
old.
that's relatively old.
right, that's
but,
pretty
yeah.
old. I mean, in like
Especially
software
desktop
years,
computing.
that's 100 years old. And I'm thinking like, well, again, this is what all kind of started. This was like, well, do I get a new fancy laptop and then just like stick with that, or do I upgrade my PC and then get something kind of budget on the like laptop side of things? Because I, of course, as somebody who wants to get the most mileage out of their computing equipment in general, I want to use my stuff till it dies, but I also don't want to have something die on me and then go, a week without my computer. So I definitely think that it would be interesting
trade-offs.
to make a video very soon about making a new build entirely, and then you'll be able to see from there. So it's something I'm thinking about. I'm sure you guys will bring it up a couple more times and keep me honest, because I'm too nervous to spend so much money. But I'm like, I've been wanting to do it for a while.
I've
so I
taken
think
the
it's around
liberty
time
of
for an upgrade.
specking one out for him.
Yes, they have done way more work than
Just
I
now.
have about.
No, I've had this.
No,
for
he's,
like weeks.
he's built me a whole PC already. He's got it on PC Part Picker, and I'm just like, yeah, that sounds pretty good.
So-
and so we'll see.
I'm gonna go over the specs for those who are interested.
Let's do it.
So it is a core.
He's got it open right now.
I do have it open right now.
Yep.
Now, I will say that us being in northeastern Ohio, we are blessed with a micro center.
Woo!
So
can't wait to go.
We have the ability to go and get cheap processors and reasonably priced GPUs.
And by cheap, that means MSRP plus a little bit.
Right, MSRP.
No.
and-
Their CPUs are MSRP or lower are their CPUs.
Yeah, because it's what, $20 off if you buy a motherboard.
Yeah,
with
that
this
being
one.
said, you would actually save more money by buying the CPU from Micro Center and then ordering the motherboard on Amazon.
Nice.
That's
So-
sort of sad. I got
That is sort of sad. So this
whatever.
is what you would get: the Core i5 12400, not F. It says F on the build, but the at Micro Center, it is cheaper to get the non-F model. So
What does that
Just a
mean again?
12400.
So just the i5 12400. The F means there's no graphics card in it. So this would be the one with the GPU,
12th generation. That's a new generation,
for the
right?
12th gen,
Yeah.
for $169.99.
Wow.
So double the generation of mine.
Yes,
For those
double the
viewing at
generation
home.
of yours. Yeah, Alex currently has a 6400.
Yes.
That's actually what my work laptop has.
a 6400.
Really?
So it
That
has
is old.
4 cores, 4 threads. I believe the mobile version is the 6400T. I
Yeah, I
think.
can't remember.
Either way, it's not as powerful as Alex's, but it's slightly.
So I have an i7 9850 in my work
Ninth
laptop.
generation.
So that's just to put things in perspective.
2 to 3 generations old.
Yeah, so the
It's about to be 3
the
generations old.
i5 12400, which
32
is
gigs of RAM in here.
yeah,
Pretty
damn.
decent.
It makes me feel like a pleb with my
You have a
PC
decent machine.
at home, and it's like so much more underpowered. But anyway, all right.
So the 12400 has 6 cores and 12 threads. It is clocked at 2.5 gigahertz base. I believe it boosts to over 4 gigahertz, but I'm not 100% sure. It boosts to 4.4 gigahertz. It is on the LGA 1700 socket. It is 7.5 megabytes of level 2 cache and has a thermal design power of 65 watts.
Nice.
So it is on par with like my old, with like a, I don't know what is it on par with? I don't know. Either way, it's good. You know what?
Doesn't matter.
It's good.
Whatever.
It's
Move
Hell
on.
lot better than what I got in
Move
there
on.
now.
the
That's where we're
motherboard
at.
that I have picked out for you is the Asus Prime H670 Plus D4 ATX, which just means it's the cheapest Asus motherboard on Amazon that would fit your CPU.
Does
And
it
it's
have
normal
integrated
size.
Wi-Fi?
Does it need integrated Wi-Fi?
No, I don't want integrated Wi-Fi.
Oh, so you want me to go out of the
no.
way to not have that? as
I
a
was just
feature?
wondering. I'm just curious.
No, it
Does
doesn't,
it have
'cause it was
RGB
the-
support?
I don't think so.
Does it have good audio integrated?
It does have some fancy smans. Oh wait, no.
All right, I'm just
This
curious.
is a bare bones motherboard that will run your CPU because performance doesn't make a difference, and I know you use Ethernet.
Yeah, I prefer wired connection.
Do you care about like audio or anything like that, or no?
Not really.
I mean, if he wants high fidelity audio, he can use the USB and get an audio interface.
But
Yeah.
see, like,
Except that costs
even
money.
going off of that, I use USB audio headphones, so they have their own audio card,
they've got
if you
their
will,
own
built
DAC
in
in
anyway.
there.
Yeah, so you need to worry about it.
It doesn't
Yep.
even matter what the integrated audio
It
is.
does have USB ports then.
Yep.
Yeah, it has USB. All right.
Yeah. So then you also have Corsair Vengeance LPX 32 GB of RAM,
216s.
DDR4 3600. This is
What's the
just
clock on that?
it's 3600 mega transfers
Damn,
per
shorty.
second.
I was used to like 2166.
Yeah. So and it's 32 gigs.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you can upgrade later to 64 if you really want.
Yeah, because there's only 2 sticks.
Nice.
And you have 4 slots. Then, now I know you said you just upgraded your storage, but
Yes.
this motherboard has 2 M.2 slots.
Yes.
So, I also threw in a Sobrent Rocket Q4, meaning it is PCIe 4.0 compatible, 2 terabyte NVMe SSD.
So an interesting point that he brought that up. I still, like I said, I want to get the most mileage out of my computing hardware. I don't really want to upgrade my PC. I want to keep my current PC and have a better one, and then use my old one for other stuff. Like have it as like a lab bench PC, like a build station.
So when we have the
or-
workshop in
or
your
server.
basement, that would be like the lab
That's what I'm
PC.
thinking. Like I like having that ability to have a dedicated PC for building software, deploying it onto hardware, interfacing with specific components, and then not having to like, I don't want to ever move my PC around. If I have like a PC for fun and a PC for like work, that's cool with me. And so that's kind of what I want to do almost like moving forward, is keep my current PC and kind of move it towards like,
it's a work
building PC. Software and deploying it on embedded stuff and doing like my hobby electronics, and then having my new one as like gaming and
Yeah, so basically what I would recommend doing is just leaving the boot drive in that PC and then moving the hard drives over to this new PC and using this 2 terabyte way faster drive as your boot drive. Your boot times would go down more.
Nice.
Then I also have a 750 watt Seasonic Focus Gold power supply, as well as a Corsair Spec 04 ATX mid tower case, and I picked that one because it was $54.
Yeah, my current case was a DIY PC $30 case, and apparently there were a lot of moans and groans coming from the audience when I mentioned that last time. So
by the audience, me and Ian.
Yeah, budget cases are not popular in this group, but
I spent minimum $100 on my case.
I purchased a budget case once and it was not great.
I mean, okay, here's what I'll say about that case.
I mean, it's usable if you want to like, stuff stuff together and hope that it mostly works.
And that's all I wanted to do, is I just wanted to fit all the components in something.
Now, at this point, I want good components, though.
Right.
Like
the one thing is that it was polycarb instead of glass, as if that matters.
Polycarb
well,
by glass.
I know you hate polycarb because I will say it scratches the shit out of the surface. Anytime you rub it with even like a slightly,
slightly abrasive cloth.
A cloth.
Set it on the couch.
Paper
and
towel.
Your side
If you
scratched,
wipe it down with a paper towel, you'll scratch the shit out of the surface, which I get. Okay, that's one thing people don't like. And some of the metal was kind of flimsy. I could tell that it was like a bit of a flimsy case, but for $30, I mean, shoot, that wasn't too bad. 50, what did you say? $54?
Yeah, 54. It was 50.
That's tolerable.
$54.99.
I can live with that.
And so, finally, I actually didn't spec you out a GPU, and the reason why is because I was under the impression that you would want to keep the 980 Ti for a little longer.
I very well might do that.
However, Micro Center in our area has some, I wouldn't call them good price, I would call them reasonably priced GPUs.
Let's get the tent. We're camping out. We're camping out at Micro Center.
Well, currently they have 9 in stock, so we may not have to camp.
All right, guys, that was it for it. We're going to
we gotta go to Micro Center.
They actually have a GTX or RTX 3070 Ti for $979. Now, that doesn't sound like the best deal.
Oh, but it's got a 30.
I mean, compared to what you're paying for a scalper,
that's not that bad.
Better than I can
That
get on
being,
eBay.
if you're willing to pay for it, go ahead. If you want to pay MSRP, I'd wait.
Yeah.
So Alex, would you be the type you would probably wait?
I would play it by ear. I think.
How much is a 3080?
A 3090? Are you talking like from Micro Center or from at MSRP?
From Micro Center.
A 3080 Ti is $1,900.
Oh god,
Well, that's a
it's
TI,
like
yeah?
$700. Wait, yeah,
That's-
$700 above MSRP.
That's $700 markup.
Oh god.
Yeah,
All
that's
right,
a lot.
so yeah, maybe I'll play it by ear.
You're gonna keep the 980 Ti for now.
There are a lot of other costs.
Here's
I
the
have to
thing.
The
consider at this
3070
time.
is actually more than you'd need.
I know. I think the 3070 would be enough, especially for things like I always think, oh, being VR ready would be nice, but I can't afford VR stuff right now. Maybe someday, but
This thing
Buy
is more than
used
VR
Vive
ready.
on Craigslist
I know, but
or
I'm
something.
thinking like
you did.
it would be nice to have this capability and then 2 or 3 years down the line be able to just integrate it with a VR setup, right?
Yeah, you can, and also realistically, the 980 Ti is, as long as it has driver support, that was a very powerful GPU for the time, and is still a reasonably mid-range GPU today. I would say that for the games that you play, especially, that is more than dude. Your
curious to see how
most
long
played
that
game
lasts,
is
but yeah.
Minecraft and or Terraria.
Yeah, dude, I love playing old games because I get great frame rates in them.
Now I will say, dude, I would recommend upgrading your monitor because you've told me that you have like a budget tier.
Now that's another thing. Yeah, I've considered on my peripheral update because I love my keyboard. It's Corsair K95 Platinum RGB. It's like
Fancy schmancy keyboard.
I love the click clackety click clack, and I got 6 macro keys I use all the time. Well, I use 3 of them all the time, and then I got all the RGB I want. It's everything I need. I love my keyboard. My mouse is a budget mouse that I could definitely use an upgrade on because some of the like rubber baby buggy bumpers are starting to rub off on those things. I'm thinking I could maybe use a mouse upgrade. So mouse, all right, maybe I could get a new one. But my monitors,
but
are
mouse
all,
is like $50.
yeah, monitors are all 1080p, 60 hertz. And that's what I'm used to. And I told myself, I'm like, I don't want to get
All
high
things
refresh
considered,
stuff.
I'd say it's acceptable. I mean,
Yeah, it's
I'd
fine.
like a 1080p 144 hertz, but
Yeah.
60 hertz is
So-
But see, that's the thing is
fine.
like if I can make that decision to jump the chasm and start going at a higher refresh rate, I know I'll never look back.
So would
that's what
you-
I'm like, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it.
Would you rather have? So you mentioned that you think ultra wides are silly, right?
I do think ultra wides are silly. I think they're cool, and I think if you have one, great. I think they're neat.
But you would never
I
buy
don't
one.
want one.
man of good taste, I see. Yeah.
My
Yeah.
roommate had one, and I thought it was so cool. And I also thought
I think
would
they're
hate
cool,
using
but
this.
I'd hate using them. Yeah.
They're largely not supported by things that use full screen mode, and we're talking anything from video to gaming. And it's just like with Windows in general, we're not used to snapping like in a double wide or 1.5 times wide or 1.75 times wide monitor. They're not very friendly with a lot of the software right now. And I get software is always changing. That hardware is great, and I think that it's good enough right now where you could get a lot out of it and think it'd be worth it. I personally, I'm not interested. I
Okay.
prefer multiple monitors over a large one.
My next question is resolution.
Yeah.
I don't really care. I'm happy with 1080p. Deeper than that is fine. But again, that's another thing I noticed. As long as 4K has been out, Windows is still super shitty about how they upscale the 4K and the DPI is all blurry and
It
shit.
depends on what you mean by Windows is still, because Windows 11 has fixed this issue.
This is great. I don't have any experience in Windows 11, so that does make me feel a little bit better. But even then, that's the other thing I think is like all these third-party apps. Like we know how shitty software can be when we outsource it and don't really care about what we get as long as we get a quote minimum viable product. How
Yes,
many of those
something
things-
I'm very familiar with in
Right.
the startup
How
world.
many of them are just upscaled and then super blurry? I hate looking at my computer with the ultra crisp, might as well be Retina trademark display, and I have a blurry upscaled app because somebody else didn't want to worry about making it 4K compatible. It looks so corny. I'm like, why did I pay all this money for a monitor and then all my programs I run don't have support for it?
So I would recommend for him a 1440p monitor.
think
I
1440p
agree.
would
And the
be a
reason
good
why
sell.
I own a 1440p monitor, and I think it is the sweet spot between fuck your frame rates and looks crispy. And the other thing is,
So
especially,
hold on, do you do 1440p and 144 hertz?
yes, that
Okay,
is
so
the monitor I
That
own.
seems like what I would like. Yeah.
So the reason why now I have a significantly more powerful GPU than you have.
I believe
However,
you.
I choose to run most of my games at a lower internal resolution.
Okay, makes sense.
The idea is that my UI is all rendered at 1440p, so I get crispy UI text. But the game itself, especially the games that I'm snobby about frame rate, like PUBG and other esports titles, are internally
Foliage on low.
foliage on low, foliage on very low, render distance on very high.
Right.
So but I run the games at 1080p internally, so I'll run the games at
Interesting.
75%
All right.
scale.
I see why.
And that also means that if you need to, you can go lower. Now, I found an AOC 27-inch 2K 2560 by 1440, 144 hertz monitor here at Micro Center for $240 bucks.
All right.
I paid $270 for mine. However, I paid for I got a $400 144 hertz 1440p monitor with really good color reproduction on Black Friday special.
Not bad. So,
So-
maybe I should do some shopping around during the sales.
Yes,
Yeah.
you should. Now, either that or honestly, this thing's going to be better than any monitor you probably already own, and you're going to be blown away by it either way.
I'll have to see it.
Now, also, that's another
Ooh,
one.
this one's slightly curved as well.
Yeah. Also, one more question: do you care about what would you consider to be the monitor size you would want for games?
Personally, I don't care.
27 inches is what I like, and that's my sweet spot.
And I think 24 is Ian's.
24. Yeah, Ian, you have 24.
Yeah, 24 is fine by me. I barely have desk space though. So.
I mean,
Yeah,
basically
depends
everything
how
I
deep
use
is
at
your
work
desk.
and at home is no larger than 24 inches, except for the TV. But again, the
Yeah.
TV
But if you're
is
gonna
just
go up in
larger, but the same
resolution-
resolution. Right.
I mean, I'm cool with either. Basically, I'm cool with a 1080p 24-inch display, but if I'm going 27, it's probably going to be 1440
Yeah,
just for that slight increase.
This
in
is a 27-inch
resolution,
monitor that I
pixel
found.
density.
yeah, I would say I'm comfortable with 24 inches, but like, yeah, going larger isn't like it's not a hard sell for me.
Well,
I'm
like because you
interested. I
can
like it.
definitely save a few bucks if you do a 24-inch 1080p 144 hertz monitor.
I know, but 1440, I see what you're saying there, and
Yeah, I think
I'm
it's a good.
sold on that.
Because
I
you
think
are
it's good.
future proofing a little bit.
Right.
Because say for example, you do go
it though?
from
I don't know.
No, because
Well, for a little bit, yeah.
Let's say he goes from his 980 Ti and he goes to like a 3070, and he still is running at 1080p. He's going to be CPU bottlenecked significantly.
Yeah,
That's fine.
You think so with the 12th generation?
graphics
I guess
will
it is an
slowly
i5 instead of an
increase,
i7.
right? I think that the graphics will always sort of be the limiting factor, right? Not CPU.
I
mean, for
I
now,
was
you're
always
CPU
For what I
limited,
do,
but
I
in
don't
the
know.
future, you're going to be GPU limited.
I was always told that you want a GPU bottleneck.
For what it's worth,
I mean, I would say that you probably want to start out with a CPU bottleneck, and that GPU bottleneck will expand as time goes on.
for what it's worth, my current PC basically up until I guess you replaced my graphic card was probably GPU bottlenecked anyway. And I'm still at the point where like I don't ever feel like I still think I would be GPU bottlenecked at this point. Like I think everything else performs well enough where I don't notice any issues. Like I've never seen like 100% CPU usage or 100% RAM usage or like disk usage that is, you know, not tolerable.
In that case, this monitor will be just fine.
Oh yeah.
Like, I think this is, you're not gonna, because like in say for example, we do play a game that you want to like, oh, I decide I want to learn this game at whatever settings to like run it maxed out. You could definitely just turn down the settings, turn down the internal resolution, and max out the game and be able to play at full res, or even just run the game at a lower resolution and call it a day.
Do you love being able to X out of apps just by touching the corner of the screen?
I rarely do it, but sometimes I do.
But anyway, yeah. So this, all in all, the system is you're going to be under $1,000 for all these upgrades for the
All
most
right,
part.
sold.
Sold.
Yep.
All right, let's go to
Let's
Mega
do it.
Center.
It'll be the next video. Okay, maybe a couple videos down the line.
Well, yeah, we need.
I gotta get my bonus
So
first.
90. But here's the other thing: most of these parts, I'm ordering. I'm like showing you the online prices. I'm not showing you the micro. The only thing you'd be buying from Micro Center is the CPU.
I mean, my first build was all on Newegg, so it's
I
not
didn't
something
see
foreign to me.
a power supply in here.
He did have an 80 gold.
Oh, gotcha. So
Yeah, it's the
150 watts.
exact. It's actually the exact same power supply that I have.
Yeah, he sold me on it because it was 80 and gold. That's basically it.
Yeah.
80 gold and
And
under
that brings
200.
up an 80. That brings up a rating thing, an issue, but I'm not gonna.
So I actually, okay, I take it back. This is not the same power supply I have. I spent an extra $10 to get the fully modular, and I regret it.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yes,
don't
I
really
think
care
the
that much.
fully modular was a waste of money.
I think it'd be nice though that I could make my own cables.
oh yeah,
Just don't tell my boss.
You don't, yeah, because at ABC Corp you have access to all of the Molex
Those
connectors.
Molex pins are like $1 a piece, dude. They're
Wait,
nutty.
the pins? Oh god.
Okay,
All
depending
right,
on what you're
whatever.
using, but don't get me wrong, Molex is fucking expensive.
But he has access to all of like the tools to assemble them.
Yes.
Yeah,
Having that
crimpers or
crimper,
whatever, yeah.
tool. So first of all, the dies for the tool are like $200, and the tools themselves are like $600. And if you think of the investment just to be able to make like your ATX power cable connector thing, that's a Mini Fit Junior from Molex, which means you need the Mini Fit Junior crimper for $600. Plus you need the pins, and then
It's crazy to me how expensive those crimpers are.
Right, so
$600.
Molex
for
just
a
wants to
piece
charge
of
you
metal
that because
bends
they
metal.
can.
Molex has the monopoly on the like power terminal
That's
connector
insane.
industry, and we're all okay with it because like at least you have some kind of expectation of a standard, I guess. But I don't know. Everyone seems to love them. They, for whatever reason, even those Pico blade connectors are Molex. So you can't escape it. You might as well embrace it. I don't know.
$600 though for crimpers just seems insane to me.
Yeah, I was talking to Brandon, and he said he has one of the like the off-brand like.
Does he have knockoff Molex?
He has knockoff everything, and that's why I always go to him when asking about stuff because his whole lab setup, like, basically is what he uses to impress the recruiters or whatever. But he has like off-brand everything, and yeah, his whole lab setup is like all budget parts. And every time I need a recommendation for budget stuff, like his heat station is a 3-in-1. It's a soldering heat station and like reflow thing, and it was like, I don't know, $300. And he was like, oh, this was great. It was the best deal because anything you'd buy professionally would be $1,000 or more,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, yeah, budget crimpers are definitely worth it for home repairs if you don't have access to the expensive ones. So yeah, I am lucky to have some of the expensive tools at my disposal for this brief period, you know, whatever that ends up being. Anyway,
Makes sense.
random tangent.
Makes sense. I don't know. I was told by Ian G that a lot of the power supplies you see that come out of China have knockoff fake Molex
Oh, I
connectors
believe
on
that.
them
Yeah.
because
100%
of
I
how
believe that.
expensive Molex are.
Why would you pay for it?
Yeah. So
Same reason they say they're 80 plus and maybe they're not.
Well, okay, so but he was mentioning that like even big companies like Thermaltake and Corsair will use the knockoff ones
I
because they're
don't
coming out of
blame
Chinese
them.
factories.
I don't blame them for the price. I do think Molex is overpriced.
Yeah.
But whatever.
So, but anyway, but yeah, the Seasonic is a good brand for power supplies.
Right
on. They're 30 years old, I think. So they're a pretty old company.
They've been around.
They've been around, and their power supplies have like 10-year warranties on them.
Right on.
Yeah, and if they die within those 10 years, hey, my power supply blew. All right,
you a new
we'll
one?
send you a new one.
Hell yeah.
And a lot of times, dude, if they take your components with them, because that can happen, a lot of times they'll cover it,
Ooh, all right.
which is like really nice of them.
Well, I'm sold.
Yeah. Now the case, I'm a case snob.
I'll figure out the case later. That's the one I'm least worried about. I
That's
feel like those
the
are the ones,
component- would
that's
you-
the one I want to see in person, or at least have like a good idea of what I have before buying it. Everything else I can see the stats and be happy with. But like cases don't have stats for me. I mean, sure, like the ports,
Well, let's see
okay.
how many hard drive slots it has.
I really like the Mesh
bays.
5C case for my first case.
It has
Actually,
3.25 inch bays.
actually, I have an empty case.
Trying to save me a couple hundo bucks, huh? Well, one.
Oh, is that
one
the
hundo
case that we
bucks.
pulled the NAS components?
Yeah,
out of?
yeah, it is.
Oh, that's a nice case. That's like a $150 case.
What do you
That
want
is a
for
nice
it?
Case.
It is. I mean, we're friends.
A good video? All right, let's do it.
We'll just give him the case.
All right, well, stay tuned on the Casual Coders YouTube and other media channels, because one of these days, dang it, I'm finally going to shell out the cash to get this new PC built.
And
One
also,
day.
Kyle's finally going to finish the NAS video.
One day, TM.
man.
No promises.
No promises. Honestly,
I feel
that
like.
was a really fun video, but if that never gets published, I'm not going to be sad.
It'll get
'cause I still
published
had
one
fun.
day.
It'll-
Yes.
I'll
It might
still
be in
have
30
fun.
years, but it'll be one
Stay
day.
tuned, because
30
I want to do
years.
it, dang it.
We'll make that one video, just us building PCs.
Well, it's a fun thought. I'm sure it'll be real soon.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're significantly over. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching.
Yes.
We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.